What is going on, you guys? It is your girl, Dana Patrice, aka the Black Fairy, and I am here again with another live happening tonight. I'm actually setting up TikTok right now so that we can head into the live. Again, I am going live on TikTok. I'm going to have a panel, and I'm hoping that some people can tell me why in this year of 2025 would I ever want to be Christian? Okay. So I'm just getting ready to go live on TikTok. Just give me one moment while I set this up. Um, let's see. Okay. Okay, so I'm currently live on TikTok. Let me get it up on the screen here for YouTube. Hello, TikTok. They are notifying everybody. Let me go to live. And see what's going on. Sorry, y'all. It always moves so slow. If you're coming in on YouTube, let me know that you're here. Say hello to anybody. Hi to anybody joining on TikTok or YouTube. I do see that I have 2 people there. Hello, hello, hello. Please like the video on your way in. If you are interested in participating in this, I would love. Let me do this. Hey, don't worry, say hi, you guys. I would love to see some people. I have to actually stay online for about 3 hours today so I can get into the algorithm. The sound went out. Can you hear me now? Can you guys hear me now? Testing, 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 testing. I am using a mic. Thank you for the likes. Thank you so much. Okay, perfect. You guys hear me. Hi, Global Donica. Hi there. Hi to everybody coming in. I would love, love, love for you guys to keep tapping. I do have a gift goal. I'll be here at least for the next 3 hours. I do want to talk about this topic. Just to get right into it, welcome to this live today, you guys. I want to just talk to women, okay, specifically Christian women, women who are deconstructing, or atheist women. I want to have an open and honest conversation about our faith and what it looks like for us today. The question I'm bringing you is right here on the screen. I'm a woman living in 2025. Why should I be Christian? And I want to hear your perspective, your thoughts, your feelings. Okay, this is a safe space, no judgment, just dialogue. Okay, so I would love for you guys to come up. I see there's 2 people on TikTok watching. I have 2 people on YouTube. Okay, Kamari says I'm back now. You guys can hear me. Amazing, amazing. Yeah, I I wanted to have this conversation, but you know how the TikTok algorithm is. You got to go live even when nobody's there. But this is something that I think that we should really talk about. I was just actually watching a video on TikTok where this lady was talking about feminism. You can't be a feminist and be Christian. I said that, and I was like, the Christians came out for me, y'all. Just let me have my drink here. Don't worry, it's soda. Okay, thank you again for all the likes. Get those likes up. Thank you so, so much. Um, but yeah, y'all. So I really want to talk about this. So here's a couple things before we dive in. Like I said, this is for women only as far as the panel. Men, you're welcome to watch and you can participate in the comments. But live is our space. I talk to women and I want to be amongst women. Again, women constructing, women. Hi, Nishi, D. Hey, girl. I want us to be honest and respectful. We're here to explore and question, not attack anybody. And I may share some facts from scripture and history, but the goal is conversation. I'm not trying to lecture anybody. Okay. So, one of the things that I do want to go over during this live when it comes to this topic is to take a look at the biblical double standards. We did this last time. Let's start with something that really hit me during scripture. That would be the double standards, right? Hey, Ruthie, tap, 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 y'all, so I could get into the algorithm. So the double standards was one of the things that bothers me in the Bible. Men sin and often get grace. However, women will suffer the consequences. An example of that we went over last Friday was David and Bathsheba. You know, David commits adultery and has Uriah unalived, yet God punishes the child, right? Not David. He also punishes David's concubines slash wives by allowing them to get raped in front of all of Israel. To me, that was BS. I don't understand how that sits with women who identifies with Christianity, and I kind of feel like it's not a God who truly cares about women. This can't be a God who truly cares about women. Another point that I have would be the women's value and laws. Scripture also repeatedly treats women as secondary or property. Leviticus says menstruating women are unclean. Exodus allows daughters to be sold. And Numbers has this potion test for adulteresses. No male equivalent to these things. So I want to understand how Christian women, how they reconcile with these rules, with being women today. You know, does it empower us? Does it restrict us? That's because men wrote scripture. Hold on, I can't see the rest of that global dominance. I don't know why it's not showing me the whole thing. Or did you not finish your sentence there? And you're right, men wrote scripture. They wrote it to oppress women and to structure the society in the way that it is, which is a patriarchal format, right? I started unraveling and deconstructing Christianity. Oh, let me let this pass by. I live in the city, y'all. Men wrote scripture to control women as property. Absolutely. And that's actually one of the scriptures that I want to go through today. Um, I actually wanted to bring up, let me see here. I wanted to bring up Deuteronomy 21. It actually came up in a few lives today. But the scripture where if you go to Deuteronomy 21 and you go to verse 10, and they talk about the female captives, right? Global Dominance says we are moving into a handmaid's tale at this point. I definitely see that in the US. Personally, I am in Canada, but don't get it twisted. Canada is a Christian nation. A lot of Canadians up here they do agree with Trump and the things that they're doing. They would love to see what he's doing down there to happen out here. So, and I mean, even in Handmaid's Tale, the show, anyways, they kind of portrayed how Canada was starting to fall into the same trap, into the same system. So, I definitely feel you on that. Here is where they, in Deuteronomy, they talk about female captives. And I kind of saw it come up a couple times today. So I feel like a, a lot of people are saying the same thing. Oh my gosh, what's going on in the city tonight? Right? So if you read chapter 21, Deuteronomy chapter 21, verse 10, it says, when you go out to war against your enemies and the Lord your God hands them over to you and you take them captive, suppose you see among the captives a beautiful woman whom you desire and want to marry. And so you bring her home to your house. She shall shave her head, cut her nails, discard her captive garbs, and remain in your house a full month, mourning her father and mother. After that, you may go into her and be her husband, and she shall be your wife. But if you are not satisfied with her, you shall let her go free and certainly not sell her for money. You must not treat her as a slave since you have dishonored her. You're moving to Canada in 3 days? Where in Canada are you moving, Global Dominance? Where in Canada are you moving? Edmonton. Oh, okay. I'm in Ontario. But Edmonton, I'll just say be prepared for the cold winters. Edmonton actually has a really great, you know, cost of living versus pay. They pay really great out there. But the winters, that's what keeps me from going out there, to be honest. It's already so cold in Ontario, and it's worse out in Edmonton where you go further north. So that's all I'll say. Get yourself a real good um, jacket. But yeah, I do want to invite women up to discuss why should I be a Christian today as a woman in 2025. I brought up the female captives because I wonder how. I'm in Ontario. I live in the Toronto area. So this was one of the things that bothered me a lot. How is this a loving God? How can we say that this is a God who loves women, right? Giving the men permission to pretty much do as they please with these captains after annihilating their home, right? After annihilating their family, they get a month to mourn, and then basically he gets to sleep with her and make her their wife. There's no talk about consent here, right? This isn't some Disney romanticism, which I heard today on another live when someone brought it up, and the man was saying, "Oh, after a month, you don't know how she's gonna feel." I couldn't imagine um, having everything taken from me, my whole life turned upside down, and the people responsible for it take me, remove me. I've already lost my mother and my father, shaved my head, cut my nails down, and then after a month of mourning, um, having them enter me and marry me. And then if he's displeased, not if I'm displeased, not if I'm unhappy, if he is displeased, then I get they can divorce me. You can't sell me. At least there's that, right? But um he will divorce me because he's not happy. And I wonder how many girls this happened to, the misfortune of happening to. It's disturbing things like these that happen in the Bible that make me take pause, that I can't reconcile with. And that's why I wanted to talk to some Christians today. I wanted to see if anybody could maybe explain to me pretty much how they reconcile that being a Christian woman. Hi, you should be whatever makes you happy, Christian or not. Okay, Robert, that's your opinion, but I don't think that Christianity is healthy for society anymore. I think we've outgrown it. I don't think that it's good. I don't think you can serve a God who um, can condone slavery, G-side, grape, the unalignment of mass people, and have the right mindset to move forward into a society where we can have equality, love amongst each other, acceptance amongst each other without true judgment. So whether it makes them happy to be Christian, it doesn't change the fact that their religion justifies these horrible things, and that these horrible things are happening, are being pushed on people who do not want that for themselves. I want to thank for the 1.1K. I really appreciate it. If you're watching, please continue to tap the screen. I do have a gift goal of just 50 roses in the next 3 hours. I do plan to stay on for 3 hours. I'm trying to get myself in the algorithm. I would love for someone to come up and join me to discuss the topic, Christian women, atheist women, women who are deconstructing. I would love for you guys to come up and, share your opinions. We don't have to agree. You have a right to your opinion. We have free choice to make choices, and God doesn't control our. Actually, God controls choices all the time in the Bible. Like when he hardened Pharaoh's heart. Yeah, like when he hardened Pharaoh's heart, he interferes all the time when he wants to interfere. Sorry, I would be on camera, but I don't have a working ring light. So it's really dark where I am. So that's why I'm like covering it, but whatever. So you may not think, but I think that Christianity is actually quite harmful. You may not think so because as a man, um, it probably doesn't affect you the same way it does women. Pharaoh's heart hardening was a reference to the Egyptian mythology. No, it wasn't. It was literally God hardening his heart so that he could do what he wanted him to do. That's what it was saying. He was hardening his heart on purpose. You don't know your Bible and you don't read your story because that's not what God said. You're putting that into the story. This is how the writers chose to write that information. So what? It's harmful information. Just like how the writers chose to put that this God condones slavery. How is that purposeful? Just like the 10 plagues were against the gods of Egypt. They weren't against the gods of Egypt. The Israelites' God was showing off his power. The Israelite God wanted to show his might. He wanted to show off. And he did that, right? He was showing off. He was trying to show his might. There was twice he had to harden Pharaoh's heart. After Pharaoh decided to let them go, he hardened his heart again. He told Moses that that's what he was going to do, so he could showboat and whatever else. Yes, men created a narrative that men rule, but really, in actuality, there was a time where women ruled. They like to forget about that. You guys like to act like this earth is only 10,000 years old, and that's about as long as patriarchy in this form has existed. Then again, it is a man's opinion of how events came about. Okay, so Robert, what's your point? I'm saying, as a woman living in 2025, why should I be Christian? Why should I worship a God who condones rape, slavery, as well as amongst other things? No, there won't be a day, because I spent the majority of my life being Christian, JP Morris, and I've turned away and I'm not going back. I would never in my life want to worship a God who is okay with slavery, okay with beating slaves, okay with raping women, and condones these things and sets out men to mass unalive groups of people and wiping them out. We should be Christian because God is the only one who offers forgiveness for your sins. I'm not a sinful person. I'm not Christian. That's on you. If you want to label yourself a sinner, you do that yourself. I'm not a sinner. Okay? I'm not. And I don't need any forgiveness from an imaginary God who lives in the sky, who does worse things than I do and has done worse things that I could ever do. So there's that. Then you don't have to choose that. You should choose what you want. And I don't think you should be able to choose whatever you want. Just like I don't think that men who want to marry young children should be able to do that. They should, not everything that you believe in and think that is right is actually right morally. I never said that I thought I was perfect. I know that I'm not a rapist. I know that I've never set before the world and Israel and set a bunch of women to be raped in front of all of Israel. I know that I've never done that before, though. That's what your God has done. I know that I've never, like I've just read in Deuteronomy, I would never tell men that they could take women that are already captive and kidnapped and lost all of their homes and enter them after a month after shaving their head and cutting their nails. I know that I would never say that if a man came up upon a virgin and he lay with her and forced himself upon her, that the judgment should be that he pay $50 and and then have to marry to her rapist for the rest of her life. I've never done any of those things. Your God has done those things. So although I'm not perfect, I'm better than that. Okay, I'm better than that. So my God raped women. Your God set up the women to be raped. If you go to Second Samuel, you can read the story of David and Bathsheba, right? Now, the what should have been done to David and Bathsheba is that they should have been stoned for adultery, and that's even myself thinking Bathsheba that should have been stoned. I don't think so because I feel she was a victim in the situation, but that's not about this. And to pretty much punish David, which should have been his unalivement. He allowed David to live, but had his son Absalom rape his wives in front of all of Israel. Then he also had his child suffer for 7 days before he unalived that child. This is not a God who loves women. This is not a God who cares for women. Those wives of David did nothing wrong. They did not deserve to be raped, but he used them as a punishment against David. When the crime for David's sin, according to Leviticus, adultery, is to be stoned to death. So this God that you're saying loves the world so much would do that to a group of women. That's not a God that I can get with. That's not a God that I can worship. God didn't do anything. We each made those choices. God did plenty in the Bible. He doesn't do anything now. I agree with you. He doesn't do anything now, right? We don't see him working through the world like he did back then. I mean, when God wanted to feed Israel, he rained down manna. When they needed water, they got it from a stone. God doesn't do anything. God doesn't do anything now. I believe in this God, so I don't believe in Satan. And Satan didn't do any of those things. God did those things. Everything I'm telling you is what God did. So I don't know why you're bringing up Satan. This is what God did. Why are you bringing Satan into it? These are things that God did. God did that to David's wives. God did that to David's baby. I don't know why you're bringing up sin. I'm not misinformed. I can read it in the Bible for you. Let's go there right now. I do have the verse. Let's go to Second Samuel and read about what God did to David through the punishment of his punishing him through his wives and his child. Let's get into it. Okay, let's get into it. If you guys could tap the screen, there's 4 people watching. Hopefully, we can get some dialogue going. I would love for some women to come up and discuss this topic with me. But let's go to 2 Samuel and go to the story of David, since you guys want to act like I'm making shit up, and I'm not. Where are you, 2 Samuel? I do not believe in God, and I am smarter than God, clearly. If I know that if I could not do things, if I don't need, if I was all powerful, I would definitely be better than he was, because I would never do such a thing. So yeah, I am better than your God. Feel how you want about it. So if you go to 2 Samuel chapter 12, and you go to verse 11, thus says the Lord. Hold on, actually, let's read it just from the beginning. So let's read it from the beginning. From verse 1, we're going to read. Wait, so you're fighting against something that you claim does not exist? Who says I'm fighting against anything? I'm willing to have conversation. Who am I fighting? Like, who am I fighting? I'm not a sinner. I'm not a sinner. I'm not a Christian, so I can't be a sinner. I don't worship your God, so I don't fall under his laws. I'm not a sinner. You can call yourself, you can talk about yourself that way, but you're not going to talk about me that way. I'm not trying to have a conversation with men. If there were Christian women who wanted to come up, I would love to talk to Christian women. I would love to talk to atheist women. I would love to talk to deconstructing women. But like men, you guys can't take a hint. But I mean, I do appreciate, I guess, the comments. I'm citing sinful acts by God. So let's get into Deuteronomy. Yeah, why should I be a Christian? Why should I be a Christian today as a woman in 2025? Why should I be a Christian? Why should I worship a God who does these terrible acts, does these terrible things? As a woman, how can I reconcile terrible, horrible acts against humanity done by this God? That's what I'm asking. He doesn't offer forgiveness for sins. JP Morris, if you can't read and say that it says living in 2025, then I don't know why you're saying that. Well, I'm trying to have a discussion with women, so I don't know why you're trying to insert your opinion on what could and could not be said. If I want to have a discussion, I want to have a discussion. I would never follow this God, ever. Absolutely not. This God is terrible. I've been reading about this God, and it was bad enough, because for me, learning how God, how it was, YT people that gave my people in the Caribbean the book, and how they used it during enslavement to enslave us. Yeah, I have a problem. So let's get into what the God did. Let's get into God's sin and how he sinned and the terrible things he did to these women. So in Samuel chapter 12, verse 1, and it says, "And the Lord sent Nathan to David. He came to him and said to him, there were two men in a certain city, the one rich and the other poor. The rich man had very many flocks and herds, but the poor man had nothing but one little ewe lamb that he had bought. He brought it up, and it grew up with him and with his children. It used to eat from his meager fare and drink from his cup and lie in his bosom, and it was like a daughter to him. Now there came a traveler to the rich man, and he was loath to take one of his own flock or herd to prepare for the wayfarer who had come to him. But he took the poor man's lamb and prepared that for the guest who had come with him. Then David's anger was greatly kindled against the man. He said to Nathan, as the Lord lives, the man who has done this deserves to unalive. He shall restore the lamb fourfold because he did this thing and because he had no pity." Verse 7, Nathan said to David, "You are the man. Thus says the Lord. Thus says the Lord, the God of Israel. I anointed you king over Israel, and I rescued you from the hand of Saul. I gave you your master's house and your master's wives into your bosom, and gave you the house of Israel and of Judah. And if that had been too little, I would have added as much more. Why have you despised the word of the Lord to do what is evil in his sight? You have struck down Uriah the Hittite with the sword, and have taken his wife to be your wife, and have unalived him with the sword of the Ammonites. Now therefore the sword shall never depart from your house, for you have despised me, and I have taken and have taken the wife of Uriah the Hittite to be your wife. Now here's where it gets juicy. Thus says the Lord. So we hear that the Lord is speaking, right? Thus says the Lord. I will raise up trouble against you from within your own house, and I will take your wives before your eyes and give them to your neighbor, and he shall lie with the wives in broad daylight. For you did it secretly, but I will do this thing before all Israel and in broad daylight. So God said that he was going to have this done to his wives. God set this in motion. God caused grape. So God condones grape and is sick enough to use it as a punishment for not even what the wives did, because the wives did nothing. This was for David's sin. And as I said, the Levitical law, which would have been adultery, would have had David stoned. But no, David gets to live. He's one of God's favorites, so God will bend the rules for him, right? David is an unaliver. David is an assaulter. And what does God do to punish him? He punishes his wives. I can't imagine as a woman in 2025 having to look out and see a bunch of women getting raped for everybody to see because of the sins of the man that they're married to. That is disgusting. You can't tell me it's not disgusting. So before you're high in my horse trying to tell me about your God and his love and his forgiveness, well, I don't forgive God for that shit. I have no forgiveness in my heart for that. I would never praise or worship a God who could do such terrible things to women. Right? So, for me, that's my take on this. I cannot serve a God, but I'm willing to, what I'm trying to do is trying to reconcile how women can defend such a thing. So for me, this is evil, and I've yet to hear from any of you who are making excuses, just waiting for some guy or gal to say it isn't met literally. Exactly. I mean, they're pretty quiet now, right? Like before, it was God wouldn't do that and all of this, that, and there was so many excuses. But once I got to this part, and it says, "Thus said the Lord," and it became clear that it was God speaking, it seems like they ran out. Like they ran away. Crickets. Absolutely, Binker the Shy. Crickets is all nothing. The comments are dry. Right? They said I was misunderstanding the word, but it's very clear here what God said he would do. Right? It's very clear that this happened to them because of what David did, and it's very clear that it's God who is decreeing that this will happen to these women who had nothing to do with it, who did nothing wrong. But yeah, I am looking for women who are deconstructing, who may have an opinion on this, women who are atheists can come up, and Christian women. I really want to understand how you reconcile with these things and still worship something that would do such terrible acts, not just against humanity, but women, right? Because again, we're living. Sorry, I got a phone call. We have rights. We have um, the most education offered than we have in a very long time, right? When the patriarchy came into play, which has been only around for 6 to 10,000 years, women were involved in society. They were in government. They held high places. They built. They hunted. And a lot of societies were run matriarchal, right? We see a lot of travelers who traveled along before patriarchy and Christianity was ushered in, and they speak of these places: Ethiopia, Egypt, even places near West Africa like Nigeria, where women ruled. Yes, you're right, Pinkerchai. The women were all of society. It didn't exist without the wise women. Absolutely. And now that's been taken out. We live in a world where we've been oppressed. I often say women were probably most likely the first slaves, as even in the Bible, they sold us, right? Women didn't have rights. Women were property, right? You could sell your daughter. A lot of women who entered slavery could never come out of slavery, whereas men did have the choice. Thank you for the follow. While men did have the choice sometimes to be able to work their way to freedom, but women not so much. This Bible again condones rape, G-side, um, and it disgusts me. And I'm just, when I'm reading through this book and I come across these things and I see how the God interacts with humanity, and I see how his lack of interaction with humanity now that he's apparently saved all of us, quote unquote, right? I say that in quotations. Um, I don't see a God worth worshiping. And I understand men, right? Because the power dynamics that they get from this religion, I understand why men, Christian men, want women to be Christian. I see how it works for them. I see what they get out of it, right? They get to live in a home where they feel like they have some sort of power, like there's some sort of head of household making them feel in charge, because throughout their everyday lives, they are oppressed by the general society. And they go home and take it out on women a lot of the times. They have to feel that there. So I understand why men want women to be Christian. Like, I get it. Like, I don't need to talk to y'all. But I do not understand women in Christianity. How could they get with such a God who is really such a warmonger, right? So in the JW religion, women and kids are still property. It's insanity. Yes, a lot of women, a lot of like the passages, Christian doctrine, right? Um, they get that from the Bible. Grew up Seventh Day Adventist, so although I wasn't JW, right, a Jehovah's Witness, I grew up Seventh Day Adventist, and it has a lot of the same parallels, the same kind of like cult like behavior, weird rules and things like that. So I definitely understand from that perspective. Even right now, I'm breaking the Sabbath. If you need a book to tell you good, bad, you're a pretty lousy person to start with. I grew up JW, and ooh, they hated me at the Kingdom Hall. Oh my gosh, they did not like me either. But I did believe for a long time. And then I was one of those believers who just kind of made the book what I wanted it to be. And then when I found out about how it was introduced to, people who looked like me during slavery, and how they sent missionaries when their warmongers wouldn't work, and they oppressed us through our mind. I don't know what this is. Hold on, y'all. Okay, there. So yeah, I would love. Okay, I don't know why it's not showing up, but okay, there we go. That's what I was looking for. But yeah, I can't even fathom living with that kind of racist. Yep, yep. And it's sad, but again, like a lot of black households are Christian. A lot of us are, and it sucks because it's what's holding us back. If you look at Christian dominated places, they have a lot of poverty, right? Like I couldn't fathom living back then either. I think I definitely would have been unalived for fighting back or just even self unalivement, to be honest, because I don't think I would be able to live my life like that. You know what I'm saying? I really don't think I could live my life like that. It's so sad to see. And when, because even like so me, I'm Canadian. My parents are from the island of Jamaica. They immigrated here in like the 70s or so. They immigrated here. But if you look at the island of Jamaica, which is like, I believe like 90% Christian, but the island is impoverished, right? A lot of poverty on that island. How come God is answering their prayers? Right? Majority of the island serves this God, and yet they're impoverished, colonized still. I mean, some of them can't even go to their beaches, right? Certain places, if you're not a resort and things like that. They talk a lot about the struggles that they're going through, and you find that a lot where Christianity is, which if God is such a loving God and he answers the prayers, then how come he's not answering their prayers, right? What could they be doing wrong? I love how all the people I said that verse about David and what God did to his wives, and y'all scattered like roaches. Right, Binker the Shy? Yeah, like it's disgusting. I would never want to live through anything like that ever. I just wouldn't. I just couldn't. Um, it's odd to me how anybody can look up to this God and say that he is good. Right? For me, reading the scripture now with fresh eyes, it's been really eye-opening. And I realized that what I learned a lot about God didn't reflect love of women, right? Which is why I wanted to have this conversation and ask these questions and why this conversation matters, right? They all went back to their hardback. Yep, it's so true. It's so true. Hold on, we have someone here. How come you? Oh, I sent the invitation. But I would love to hear from women who are atheists, women who are deconstructing, Christian women, because to me, it's thought provoking. I want to understand. I would like to learn. I am open minded. I just don't see it. But I think that having the dialogue is important, especially as we are moving forward in this world. We have to move forward together. And I'm just really trying to understand what how you can make a connection with this God, right? So we are just getting started. We've been here for 40 minutes. Thank you for those who have tapped the screen. I have 4 people on YouTube, and I have 4 people on TikTok. Y'all on YouTube, I know that you cannot join the live panel, but if you want to, you can come over to TikTok. Those of you watching on TikTok, I would love for you to come up and share your perspective. I'm glad some people have strong faith, but minimizing the horrors of the Bible isn't going to cut it. And that's my thing. They minimize it, excuse it, and sometimes try to lie about it. It's super frustrating when I'm in rooms and they're having this conversation. it's disheartening how many women I've seen try to pretty much, they're pretty much apologists, right? Slavery apologists, grape apologists, G-side apologists. Um, and I think it's harmful in the long run, these beliefs that they have. And a lot of the times their faith is what's holding them back from helping society, because a lot of Christians believe that what's happening right now, and leaning to that understanding, they think that not only do they think that there's nothing that they can do, there's nothing that they're willing to do, because they want Jesus to return. Yes, an enablest mentality for sure. It definitely enables. I mean, I was overhearing one of the panels I was listening to today, and the man said, "Oh, why do you think that Christians, people become Christian at their lowest point?" Which I don't understand why he was saying this. This is like a strike against him, in my opinion, in the conversation. But he was talking about how many Christians came to God at their lowest point. But why does God need you to be at your lowest point? Why does he need to go to the prisons, to the murderers, to the lowest of the low of humanity, and save them and forgive them, right? Why do you have to be at your lowest in order to see this God, or to need this God, right? Instead of working on recovery and recovering from whatever brought you to that place where you ended up in this position behind bars, let's say, why give them this, right? Well, I guess in some forms it may help them walk the line, but the way that I hear men and women speak of this God and enable him to have this kind of power where he does these kind of terrible things, like we see him do here with David's wives, and to Bathsheba's baby, and the captive women, and they make excuses for it, and you see their true heart and their true mentality, and you see why a lot of children in the church are getting SA'd behind the closure of these church doors, and why these priests, deacons, pastors, and a whole lot of other people get away with the terrible acts that they really, that they do. Like, I don't, this is why, right? If you can find a way to make an excuse for it to be okay for your God to do these atrocities, then you will find excuses for the people in your everyday life. And we see that when we look at the church numbers of SA. I mean, most churches have insurance covering them just in case of SA. That's how common it is. So when we look at things like this, how is this helpful to the community? How is it helpful to you? We had one commenter earlier saying, "Oh, like, it shouldn't matter. People should believe what they want." But no, people shouldn't be able to believe whatever they want. Some beliefs are harmful. Some beliefs hurt society. Some beliefs keep us divided when there's no need. Yes, the insurance thing is true. The insurance thing is true. They have preparation for that because it happens so often that they're covered. I mean, the Catholic Church, didn't they just put out billions of dollars to pay out to these survivors who survived what happened to them in the Catholic Church, right? So how can we move forward with this at all? As women, how can we reconcile with it? Because me as a woman, I could never, like, I tell a story. where because for me, I left Christianity long before I deconstructed it. I found out that this book was given to us in slavery, and you couldn't convince me that this was good, that it was good for us, and that it was for our betterment as a people. I do not see that at all. You couldn't get me to see it. So that's when I first turned away. It didn't take much. It was the way that we learned about Christ, the way it was delivered to us through slavery. You couldn't tell me that my oppressor wanted what was best for me. So I turned away and I went on a journey, a spiritual journey, trying to figure out what I did believe, what there was to believe. I explored many different options. And then I just started to, I say probably like maybe even a few years ago, just started to completely on myself, believe in myself, choose to believe in me. And I've never been better since. I started pouring that love into me instead of trying to pour that out to the universe, to spirits, to my ancestors, to anyone else. And I don't have a problem with those, anybody who does those things. But people who do those things, again, aren't a harm to society. Completely on your side, but the AI image is a no for me. Why is it a no for you? What's wrong with the image? C3K, what's wrong with the image? You don't like to see women conversing? I think it's an important discussion to have, especially as we look forward and we see what's happening to women's rights being taken apart in certain places, mostly Abrahamic religious countries take away the rights of women. Right? So tell me what the issue is. Why do you have a problem with it? What's wrong? Tell me, C3K. What's the beef? What's wrong with the image? I mean, I don't really have a problem changing it. I want it to be at a discussion that felt like welcoming in a sense, right? Like welcoming, and just wanting it to be like a discussion. I don't want to like tear down Christian women, but I would like to see what their thought process is, because when I do listen to these panels where they get up there and and defend this God and make excuses for this kind of behavior, I do wonder why, right? I want to know why. I would like to have the discussion. So I don't know. Because to me, this the serving of this God is like, I don't get it. As a woman, like I said, I understand why men want this, right? I understand how it works for them. I get it completely. Like, I understand. But women, it seems like Christianity is taking us backwards, far removed. So what are you guys thinking? I see I have a couple people on YouTube. I have 3 people on TikTok. Thank you so much for being patient with me and just chilling with me and helping me get myself into the algorithm. They've given me submissions, which I think is really just to see that I'm serious. So please tap it up if you're able to help me with my gift goal on TikTok. I do have a gift goal of 50 roses before the end of the live. So and I know not everybody, like, I know it's money, so I'm not saying that you have to, right? But it's just, if you can, I appreciate it, because it does help the live. It helps me to get in the algorithm. I do think I need to start doing more. Although I have a small little platform here on TikTok, I haven't been nurturing it. I sometimes have problems juggling too many social medias. I've decided that I do want to concentrate on TikTok and YouTube as the conversation seems to flow well for me with both of these. So I'm going to continue. If you haven't checked out my YouTube channel, TikTok, I would love you to. I have, it is centered around women. I do Bible deconstruction there as well. I also look at just women and our empowerment. I've been reading When God is a Woman. I've been, some of the some of the topics I've been doing is I've been going over women of the Bible. Who was she really? Where we take a deeper look into women of the Bible, who they were. Were they victims? Were they heroines? What were they, and what can we learn from them? And what does their story teach us about patriarchy, women's empowerment, and our place in the Bible in biblical contexts? So if you're interested in that, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Like the video. Let me know you stopped by. Also, I do have another series that I started, which is Was She Really the Villain? Where we look at women villain characters in movies and series. And we really look at whether we really think they're the villain or not. I end up sympathizing a lot with women villains. Um, two of the videos that I did was one was Hela, goddess of hell, goddess of death. Sorry, she was in the Thor movie. I always kind of empathized with her. I did a video about that, and my second video was Ursula. I am working on the third video, which is going to be Magnificent. Again, just looking at women characters, because the way that the patriarchy presents women, I always find myself, again, sympathizing with them. For instance, Ursula, when you look deeper into her story, you see that she was Triton's sister, and how she was pretty much kicked out and disinherited by Triton, which was the core pain of her really going after Ariel and doing all of that, right? She was trying to get her place back on the in the palace. It's very interesting, but I find when we dissect these characters, there's a hurt and pain that I feel like women can really connect with. I talk a lot about righteous rage, right? But you don't see much of that in this Bible. You don't see much of it. But I do want to continue to thank you guys for being here. I'm at 2.2K likes. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I think the most I've gotten in likes is about 3.5. So I'm hoping that one of these days I can get 5K likes. So if you could keep tapping the screen, again, if you can, that gift goal, I would appreciate it. Tonight we're talking about I am a woman living in 2025. Why should I be Christian? I would like to have the discussion. I would love to hear from Christian women, atheist women, women who are deconstructing. I would love to create a panel where we can discuss this. And I would like to understand where Christian women are coming from. How do they reconcile worshiping a God that, who's this? Invites me. I don't know. So working on this whole TikTok thing. I don't think when they invite me to be a co-host it's the same. So I would love to talk about it though. It's always quiet, but again, you gotta have to get yourself in the algorithm. You've gotta thug it out. But I appreciate those of you who are here. Thank you so much, Global Donica, for liking the live so much, and helping me out tonight and keeping me company. Sitting here talking to myself is not the easiest thing in the world, but I do believe in this discussion. I do think that it can make a difference. I will say that I do want more women to leave this space, open their minds, come together, heal their wounds, help us elevate and create a better space and world. Okay. All right. Well, thank you. I hope to see you. That would be great if you could come up, Donica. Yeah, no, I would love that. I would love that. I'm here for at least 3 hours. I know that that's the little mission they gave me to go live and to stay on for 120 minutes, which is 3 hours. So I'll be here. Let me see what else I got, because I do have I have my little cheat sheet notes, right? And I'm gonna keep talking because I want y'all to come in. So one of the things that I wanted to know was how you women reconcile things that even see that like the virginity test, for example, which is also found in Deuteronomy. It's actually found in Deuteronomy 22. So this is if a husband feels like his wife may have cheated. Hold on, Deuteronomy. Let me pull this down. You can go to follow me to Deuteronomy. I don't know if you guys have your books up, but I'll be reading it. Deuteronomy, where was it? 22? Yeah, 22:13. 22. Right? So this is laws concerning sexual relations. So it says, suppose a man marries a woman, but after going into her, dislikes her and makes up charges against her, slandering her by saying, I married this woman, but when I lay with her, I did not find evidence of her virginity. The father of the young woman and her mother shall then submit the evidence of the young woman's virginity to the elders of the city at the gate. The father of the young woman shall say to the elders, I gave my daughter in marriage to this man, but he dislikes her. And now he has made up charges against her, saying, I did not find evidence of your daughter's virginity, but here is the evidence of my daughter's virginity. Then they shall spread out the cloth before the elders of the town. The elders of that town shall take the man and punish him. They shall fine him 100 shekels of silver, which they shall give to the young woman's father, because he has slandered a virgin of Israel. She shall remain his wife, and he shall not be permitted to divorce her as long as he lives. If, however, the charge is true, that evidence of the young woman's virginity is not found, then they shall bring the young woman out to the entrance of her father's house, and the men of her town shall stone her to death, because she committed a disgraceful act in Israel by prostituting herself in her father's house. So you shall purge the evil from your midst. Now, this is barbaric. I'm sure you can agree as a woman living in 2025. What bothers me most is that now we know through, I guess, science perhaps, that women, most girls, 50% of the time do not bleed their first time with intercourse. You would think that a God who created women, who knows all, who is the creator of mankind, would know that this little virginity test that he set up would not work because at least half the time women do not bleed their first time. That means 50% of girls that were stoned could possibly not have been guilty of this supposed crime, right? Which is terrible. And what I usually hear as an excuse is, oh, it was the times. God, that's what the times, so God made laws for the times. But God would have, if this is an all-knowing God who knows everything, who created us, he would have known that this was a thing as well, right? He would have known that 50% of the time, young girls do not bleed their first time during intercourse. So that this method of finding out whether or not she had lain with a man or not would not have worked 50% of the time. So tell me, how do you reconcile worshiping a God who would do such terrible things to young girls, stoning them, perhaps wrongfully, because half the time girls would fail the test, not because they weren't a virgin, but because half the time we know that they do not bleed their first time. So these are questions that I want to ask Christian women. I want to understand how they can reconcile worshiping this God that does terrible things. Because from what I see from women on other panels is that they justify it because they believe that it's good. They can see a situation in which that would be just. And to me, that's very dangerous. So when you come in here asking me why I want to talk about a God I don't believe in, it's because that God, though I may not believe in that God, the women who believe in that God, the men who believe in that God, I do believe are a danger. I do believe they are a danger to society. I do believe they're a danger to young girls. I do believe they're a danger to children because they can reconcile something terrible, something as terrible as this, and make excuses for it. And if they can make excuses for a God who could do such terrible things, then you best fucking believe that they're willing to do it for the men who they love in their lives, perhaps, who commit such acts, which we do see, right? We see the high numbers of SA in churches across denominations. So it's not like I'm just saying that to be catty or to be provocative. I'm saying it because it's true. And I would love to, again, have this conversation. I want to keep trying to have this conversation. Hoping that we have a diverse bunch of women coming up. Whether, again, it be a theist woman, a deconstructing woman, or a Christian woman. Because I do think with Christianity being such a huge religion, right? In the billions of people, when we look at it en masse, there's trouble afoot, right? Especially when we have them trying to connect church and state, connect the religion to how laws are made and things like that, right? It's disturbing and it's sinister, and I don't think that it helps us moving forward. If we truly want a world where we can come together as people from different genders to different races and ethnicities and cultures, we do need to get rid of these biases. And a lot of what we see in this Bible is hypocritical. And again, I do think it's dangerous. I think it's dangerous to follow this religion in 2025, especially as a woman. I personally do not want to go back to the times where we were owned as property, where we couldn't own our own property, where we couldn't open a bank account, where we couldn't vote, where our say meant nothing. I'm really not willing I don't want to go back to a world. I don't want to bring children into that world. And I think that we can agree on that perspective for the most part. I do know that there are a lot of brainwashed Christian women who believe that this is good, but I do believe in planting seeds, because I do think that at the end of it all, you have to be quite a sick person to be able to truly reconcile with some of these things that we see in the Bible. So yeah, I would love, love, love for somebody to come up and discuss this topic with me. I'm going to be here for another 2 hours. We are at the hour and 10-minute mark. Um, I was given the mission from TikTok Studio to be here 3 hours today, and I'm going to achieve that goal. Even if I'm sitting here talking to myself, as long as it shows that I'm being consistent and so that the algorithm gods will be kind to me and get me into the algorithm, because I do think that it's an important conversation that Christian women, atheist women, that women should have, period. Honestly, it really is all Abrahamic religions. I don't know much about other religions, but I don't see any other religions being woven into the laws, being pushed on unbelievers, trying to force people to believe as you do. It's not fair to the rest of us who don't want to worship this God, who don't believe in this God, and I think that this is a conversation worth having. So, what's another thing I can pull up? If I go to even like, okay, so even in the new, blah, 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 even with the New Testament, we see that women are pretty much downgraded, right? We see in 1 Corinthians 14:34 through 35, that women should be silent in church. Women should not hold authority over men in Timothy. Titus commands older women to teach younger women to submit, right? So I don't think that this is a religion that empowers women today. I don't think this is a religion that wants to see us thrive and evolve, right? I do think that it wants us to keep us in old systems, and those systems are for control. We do see that the birth rates are going down. Women are choosing themselves. Single women are the happiest demographic of people. And it's because of these freedoms. It's because we're able to educate ourselves. It's because we're able to do on our own what we once needed a man to do. Women would get married as a survival tactic. Now we don't have to. Yep, because women are resources, absolutely, right? If we aren't having children, we're not feeding the beast system, right? There's no one that's going to come up behind and do the work that they need to get done. That's one of the reasons why they're cutting back and trying to force women to submit again and have children. But why would women continue to bring children into a world where they are unappreciated, where they have no support, where they're made to struggle, right? It's not fair to us. And I'm loving to see how women are actually coming together. We see the 4B movement. We see that the birth rate numbers are going down. We see that men are going through a loneliness epidemic. It sucks that instead of stepping up to the plate and healing themselves and doing the work and becoming better people, they would rather regress and take away and corner us and try to put us in a position where we have to submit to them in order to be able to survive in the world. Yeah, some women are supporting this mindset, and it is Christian women, like Abrahamic women who serve the Abrahamic God, that are championing it the most, because they've been brainwashed to believe that this is how it should be and that the world would be in a better place if things were like that. They believe that this is the natural order of things, but when we look at history past the 10,000 years, we see that that's not true. that there were thriving matriarchal societies. And I'm not even saying now that it would need to be necessarily matriarchal. I say this all the time, but I truly do believe that if we were to make things actually equal and allow women and men to move forward into whatever skill set there is instead of all these gender role bullshit. If you let women become electricians at the same rate as men, construction, all these things, it would be better, right? If you look at the list of things that women have invented over the years, even within this patriarchal system, we have contributed so much. And I just think that if we were given the equal opportunity, we would dominate. After all, women, we mature faster. We do things better. We're better multitaskers. And this is just in general. I do have a video on YouTube called Women Are Superior. It's provocative, but I really just wanted to point out the fact that a lot of that women's brains, the way that we think, even the way that we are now healing, more women are in therapy, more women are doing the most. I mean, I've heard Christians say, oh, atheists, they're on the most antidepressants, but that's because atheists are more willing to seek help from doctors, whereas Christians will go to the pulpits and not get help for their mental issues. A lot of them will be encouraged to push into delusions. I've seen people who are schizophrenic who believe things, that they are seeing things. There's a woman that I actually follow on TikTok. She's so gorgeous, such a beautiful girl. And I was listening to her speak, and she was talking about, mostly the power of positivity, which is what attracted me to her. It was her hair, because she has a bomb ass hairstyle. It's why I cut my hair into a bob. And then it was her glasses. She had these beautiful, beautiful glasses. But as I started to listen to her speak, she started talking about how she thinks that the grocery store is poisoning her food. Like the bananas that she bought from the grocery store, the grapes that she bought from the grocery store are all poisoned. And she started talking about and rambling on about how God is showing her these things. And it is giving like a manic episode. She's saying that the police are working with her parents to harass her. Just all these things that just don't add up. When she said that there was microphones in her fruit, that's when I knew, I was like, okay, this is something wrong. This is not spiritual warfare. This is her having some type of episode. And there are people in the chat who are, in her comments, who are, some of them are concerned. There are genuine people who are concerned. They saw the signs. They had family members who had went through religious psychosis under duress. Turned out that they had mental issues. Schizophrenia was one of the biggest ones that I saw. And then there were others who were like, oh, I know what she means. The spirit that she's talking about is seen. They completely over the fact, some stuff could have been seen as spiritual warfare from what I've seen, but a lot of the stuff that she was talking about, like when she talked about how people were going to the grocery store to poison her food before she bought it. How would they poison the food before she bought it? Realistically, did they go there? Did they know which bunch of grapes she was going to choose? It just didn't make sense. But there were still people helping fuel her delusion, and it was mostly Christians, because she was Christian, and she would put some scriptures in and talk about demons and things like that, dark entities, how they're following her and how her family, just things like that. And I was like, from when she started talking about mics being put in her fruits, being bugged, I was like, that's when you know that she needs help. But there were people that were fueling her delusion in the comments, and I know that they probably think they're doing the right thing. They believe in that sort of thing. But it's clear to me she was under some type of religious psychosis. And it was very sad to see. And it's something that you see because they don't address mental health in religion, Abrahamic religions. They think that you can pray away certain things when these people genuinely need help. So that's one of my beefs as well. Hey, Star Melody, you didn't miss much. We are just here waiting to see if anybody comes up. I'm trying to get a live panel going on my TikTok because I want to have this discussion with other women. I know it's kind of like hard to get in the algorithm. A lot of people doing these topics. However, I don't know anybody in this space, and it's just me doing my thing. So I figured I'd start the topic myself. I am going to be staying on for 3 hours. I've been on for an hour and 20 minutes. And giving the opportunity, hoping some people come through. So, if you're out there listening, I do see I have 3 people on TikTok. I have 1 person on YouTube. Thank you for the support. I appreciate you guys being here. It really is helpful. What else? It's funny because the men were in here until I started talking about David and Bathsheba. I thought it was funny because I always want to men always want to come into the conversation. Maybe I shouldn't just speak to women. I mean, like I said before, y'all, I know why men want women to be Christian. So if I said I'm a woman living in 2025, why should I be Christian? And I were to ask men, it would be the most misogynistic bullshit. I'd rather have deeper conversations. But since the men are the one who want to interact so badly, maybe I should just be like Christians 25 plus request up or something like that. And then maybe the Christian women will follow once they see men, you know, because they do follow their men, right? Maybe their men aren't letting them in having the conversation because they don't want to see it for them. You know what I mean? You know how like they submit to their men. So maybe that is good. Thank you for the 3.2K likes. I appreciate you so, so much. If you could also help with the gift goal, I do have a gift goal of 50 roses. Again, I know times are hard for everybody, so if you can't, I totally understand. But yeah, I do want to continue to talk about this topic. I am a woman living in 2025. Why should I be Christian? Because I personally don't see the value in it. I would like for deeper discussion on it. But I don't know, y'all being scary. Y'all being scary about the topic. I don't understand. I thought you guys were supposed to be willing to speak on behalf of the Lord and recruit new people. But I personally would love to have the conversation. These dudes honestly don't know when to quit. They don't. They don't. But maybe that would be good for my life. They're cowards. They really are. And that's why they need a religion like this, Star Melody. They need a a religion like this to lean on, because otherwise they would never get any play at all. Let's be real. Without these Abrahamic religions, a lot of these men would not have wives. That's why they're going through a loneliness epidemic right now. Right? That's exactly why they're going through what they're going through. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for the finger hearts. Thank you for the gifts. I would love it if you could help with my gift goal with the roses. That would be great as well. I thank you so much, Global Danica. Thank you. Thank you for the likes. Thank you for the gifts. I appreciate it so, so much. But yeah, you're right, Star Melody. They are cowards, bottom line. Absolutely. And this religion allows them to be a coward and feel like they're not. They get to hide behind the religious doctrine to make them feel like they're men. They have no substance. They have nothing to give. Just want to be in charge. I don't know if you guys saw that Christian nationalist video that I did. I did a live where we went through this Christian nationalist and his beliefs. I remember one of the men was talking about how actually, he wasn't just one of the men, it was one of the pastors on his team who said that he would like for his household for him to vote on the behalf of his household, meaning that his wife didn't have a choice on who she wanted to vote for. It would be a discussion if she didn't agree with his choice, but we all know that at the end of the day, would um he would have he would go with his own mind. As much as he said he would sit there and have a discussion with her, the discussion would be so that she felt like she had a voice. But in fact, we all know that his intention would be to do whatever he wanted to do because he knew best. There was another woman who moved with her husband to the DC area where this white nationalist is. And she said that, yeah, we picked up and left. I just submitted to him, and anything he wanted to do, I followed him. I followed his lead. The Serenas, right? That's what I call Christian women, right? Serena, what's her name? I can't remember her last name, but it's from Handmaid's Tale. I call them Serenas because they're willing to ride off a cliff, even at their own detriment, right? Working against their own interests to uphold views that don't serve them. So yeah, I call a lot of Christian women like Serenas, especially the ones who are so deeply ingrained into the patriarchy, deeply, deeply brainwashed, right? Making excuses for the things that I was talking about, like rape, like genocide, like slavery. Those are the Serenas when they can find a way to try to make those things right. Right. However, I would still love again to have the conversation. I would love to have the conversation with them. I would love to pick their brains as to why, again, as a woman living in 2025 with all our freedoms and liberties, would we want to be Christian? Most of them end up in jail because of their ways. Absolutely. And that's where Christianity finds them, at their lowest, in the jail cell. You know what I mean? You know how many people are reformed and into Christianity while they're locked up and they have nothing going on, hit rock bottom? Yes, just I would love, Star Melody, I would love for you to come on TikTok and get started. Because I'm looking for some dialogue. Oh my gosh, I can't stand pastors either. They're so self-righteous. I'm agnostic atheist, nihilist. Is that your name, nihilist? I'm agnostic atheist, although I'm not necessarily convinced that there's absolutely nothing out there. I'm still deconstructing and I haven't decided. But I do think that if there is a God, that it couldn't possibly be this God. And if it is this God of the Abrahamic Bible, I'm good on him. I wouldn't worship him anyways. Even if I did come to terms with he was real, I am totally fine with not fucking with him at all. You know? I don't rock with him. I don't like how he treats women. I don't like how he treats people. I do think that this is a God of supremacy. That's why he works so well for Christian nationalists. And that's just my thing. Kamari says, in your opinion, what needs to be done to fix the problems you are seeing with Christianity and other religions that prosecute women so harshly and heavily? That's such a great question. And I actually think, oh, no worries. No worries. I understand if you're not comfortable. I get it. So for me, I think that deconstructing is the first thing. I think because a lot of women don't even know this. A lot of Christian women don't know these things about the Bible, right? I know for me, growing up in church, these things were not told to me, were not shown to me. I was given a specific directive. A lot of my Bible reading came from the Bible studies that came straight from the church. So it kind of gleaned how I learned about God and the Bible. When we bring up these topics like David and Bathsheba, and how David was, sorry, 1 second, and how David was David's punishment for his acts against Uriah, taking his wife, unaliving Uriah. We can see how God takes women, right? He takes David's other wives and has them raped by his son Absalom, right? They don't know these stories. When you tell them about the captive women who are forced to shave their heads and cut off their nails and given a month to mourn and then given to their oppressor, kidnapper, to get raped and married to, they're always like, oh, my God would never do that. I don't see that. You must have read that wrong. And then when they open up the book and they see it, at first it's shocking to them, but I still feel like they didn't know. And then they're grappling with their faith, sometimes in real time before your eyes. And I just think that planting these seeds is what's going to help make the change. I've seen a lot of women who grapple with their faith after learning this and are now deconstructing, right? So not everybody, but at the end of the day, as a woman living in 2025, it's hard to be confronted with these issues and stand by them as women. Again, there are a lot of women who are going to stand for it, especially at first. But I feel like when you drop these seeds and hints, it may not bear fruit right away, but it could help move it forward, because you can't, come on, as a woman, you can't really reconcile. And there's some women who are too far gone, but there are those women who can really take a look at it and be like, this isn't right. I do think that we have to start by deconstructing. And I think by openly deconstructing, openly having these conversations is where we'll see change. I'd rather work with goddesses. No, I feel you. Like I said, at least like most people who are outside the Abrahamic faith, their practices are closed. They're not trying to push their beliefs on other people, right? They're not trying to push their beliefs on others who don't want it, right? It's only the Abrahamic religions that really try and force you to commit to what they believe. If you're not for them, you're against them. Just like the God in this book, right? If you really read this book and you look at how he reacts, he's willing to wipe out cities and places just if you're not willing to serve him, right? Willing to offer up your women as virgins for human sacrifice or even for male consumption, violating your rights to consent and having you marry your captors, right? It's disgusting. And I know that as much as it's shocking and jarring, I feel like women leave frustrated with this information. They know it's not right. They know it deep down inside. They know that they would never want to be in that position. They know that they would never want to have these terrible things happen to them. And they fight to make some sort of reconciliation in how they can move forward um, with this religion. I do think it becomes harder. I do think that others, but I do think, again, it plants that seed. I think if we can work together, it will be through really becoming awakened, right? And it's not something that's going to happen overnight. Lilith is one of my favorite women who doesn't take any shit. Yeah, Lilith, the goddess, her energy is beautiful, and I understand why a lot of women go to her, especially when healing from Christianity. Again, I've gone through a lot of spiritual practices. I definitely am not sure about any of them. Again, I'm an agnostic atheist. I kind of don't believe in any of that stuff. I feel like when we are successful and we work through, it's because of the strength within us. You may attribute it to a god or goddess, but it's really you doing the work. It's really you pushing forward. Sometimes you have, especially when coming out of religion, you feel like you need an energy outside of yourself to make things happen. But I really don't think that that's true. I think you just need to believe in yourself, and you need to move forward, and you'll learn lessons and you'll gain blessings. But I don't think it has anything to do with anybody outside of yourself at this moment anyways. But to people who use Lilith, I've done the same thing. It was a part of my journey. But when I started really diving into myself, believing in myself, that's when I really started seeing shifts and changes. But again, you worshiping Lilith isn't you wanting to force everybody to worship Lilith. You worshiping Lilith doesn't have you wanting to oppress a whole group of people, grape a whole group of people, G-side a whole group of people. Lilith doesn't work that way, right? That's not Lilith's foundation. But this Christian God that we have here, that's their foundation. So, yeah, I don't have a problem with people who do candle magic, tarot cards, things like that. They can be harmless. They can be harmful in the wrong hands. Even I used to do tarot readings, right? I used to do it, and I do have a strong intuition. I do have strong empathy. I'm able to tap in with people in that way because of that. But even as a tarot card reader, I never took it upon myself to be anybody's doctor. I explained to them that I am just a mere person, and to take whatever I was giving mostly as entertainment, because I didn't want to steer anybody in the wrong direction. Right? I didn't want to be, some people came with some serious issues, which is actually why I stopped. People kept coming to me with very serious, deep issues that I was not equipped to help them with. And I was not afraid to, thank you for the rose. And I was not afraid to admit that, hey, what you're going through is beyond my depths. I can help you. And using the cards for some kind of like get rich quick or fall in love quick and acting like it's going to direct your life. It's supposed to be a guidance. You know what I mean? So, yeah. Since watching your video about Jasmine's Garden and Goddess Glamorous, why do you think women like Goddess Glamorous try to hold on to something that doesn't even serve them in a real positive way? I think it's because of her trauma. She did talk about how she went through a couple of ABs. I can't say that word on TikTok, but you know what I mean. I think that her trauma goes deeper than that, and she needs to hang on to something. Her guilt for whatever she's done. She needs to feel like it's been taken from her, lifted from her, and instead of working through it through therapy, she leans on an imaginary God who she's been told will take all of her sins away, will take all of her guilt away. All she needs to do is submit, and to her, that's enough. But you can even see it when she speaks on things, her repetition of the same verses that she pretty much took out of context when being asked about the contradictions in her beliefs in who God is and what God does to her own experiences, she was glitching, right? Like she was literally glitching. She couldn't tell her anything, and she's been given this chart. She's been given this script about who God is and how God has helped her, and she leans on that so heavily, right? I really wish that we would, because a lot of pastors, they do act as counselors. They don't have the certification and to be dealing with the kind of trauma that she might be going through, but they do take it upon themselves. This is why you hear about stories about people who pass away in churches trying to be healed because the pastor said, oh, God's going to heal you. We're going to pray over you and we're going to heal you. But it doesn't always work. It's funny when we talk about prayer because I actually just came across a study that I heard about on one of the panels. It was Lackluster, but I think it was on Thinkers panel, or it could have been Christina Carroll's platform. These are all deconstructionists that I'm mentioning that I watch on TikTok. But there was a study done on prayer. So there was a group who was not prayed for at all, a group that was prayed for but didn't know they were being prayed for, and then there was a group that was prayed for and knew that they were being prayed for. When they came down to the study, they found that nobody that was prayed for got better quicker. So they all recovered within the same amount of time if they recovered. They also found that the people who were prayed for and knew that they were being prayed for did worse than the other groups. Okay? So the power of prayer is this idea that, I would love to, I really look up the study and really take a look into it because I found that very interesting. How it was one thing for them to recover at the same time, meaning that there was really no effect from the prayers as far as recovery. They didn't recover fast or anything like that, but the fact that they didn't recover as fast but also ended up doing worse, I would love to see what they believed was the contributing factors to that, because you would think with all that faith that they would be able to manifest at least even some forward motion that was quicker than those who weren't. But the fact that the people who weren't being prayed for, or who didn't know that they were being prayed for, did better, spoke a lot of volumes. I would love to look more into that. I agree. I'm skeptical mostly and take responsibility for my own life. I just stay inspired by divine feminine goddesses. I just meditate and be with the moment with them and move on with my life. See, and that doesn't hurt anybody, right? That does not hurt a damn person at all, what you're doing. You are using it to strengthen yourself and to be the best version of yourself, right? Whereas Christians who are praising and worshiping this God, they are forcing their beliefs on other people. This hierarchy mentality, this supremacy ideals ingrained in them that become very dangerous, right? To our fellow humans, to our fellow women, right? Even to fellow men, if they allow themselves to actually see it. You know, the patriarchy hurts men as well. Puts them under a lot of pressure to be able to do and achieve things that really shouldn't be for one person to do. You know what I mean? So, again, I don't have a problem with people who worship other gods and goddesses because they don't tend to want to push those beliefs on others. They don't tend to want to use it to force people to live a certain way. You know, it's all for the love of self and for the growth of self and healing, which could be very, very beautiful. So that's my thing on that. Right, we've been here for an hour and 44 minutes. Thanks for chilling with me. I have 2 people on TikTok, 2 people on YouTube. You know, it's been a very interesting conversation. I want to thank you guys, even though I haven't had anybody come up to the panel yet Talking to you guys in the comments has been great. Getting the likes up has been amazing. I'm at 3.7 likes. I have 1 out of the 50 roses. Thank you so much. I appreciate for the gifts and anything you contribute. It all really, really helps. And it helps me in the algorithm because at the end of the day, I'm new on TikTok to going live. It's not something that I've done consistently. So I can understand why the algorithm gods are kind of like, we aren't going to just show you out there just yet. I may consider just making it a conversation so men can come up because men seem to be more interested in having this conversation with me than other women. I also feel like if I let men up, women will come. Pick Mishas have to come in and show off and show I'm a good Christian woman. Maybe a Christian man will pick me because Christian men don't ever want to pick the Christian women who are available to them. They always want the women who are not, as most men are. Right? Thank you for the likes. I learned that Christianity caused so much wars and natural destruction. Absolutely. We are actually in the first extinction of our kind, which I bring up a lot as well. Under patriarchy, we have entered the first. Thank you, Global Tanika. Thank you so much. What was I saying? Oh, we're in the first form of human extinction of its kind. It's a human-led extinction. What's happening to the world under men being under leadership? We are destroying our world. Again, it's causing an extinction to happen. We're in the midst of it right now. Overconsumption, unnecessary fuel. Like we have so many things coming out. Look how we've learned, like as much as that we have drives trying to cure cancer, for example. I've heard a couple times now that they've found cures for cancer, but yet people are still sick, right? It's funny how when we find a cure, all of a sudden it just gets taken away. Nobody hears about it again. And people are still continuing to use the same old, because it's all about money, right? And that kind of mentality is what's destroying the earth. The gratification of now instead of looking at how it's affecting the future, even with the way that we consume, right? Like there's enough to feed everybody. There's literally enough to feed everybody here in this world. We throw away so much food. I'm talking about like grocery stores and things like that. We have enough to help everybody live a great, amazing life. And there would still be plenty of leftover. And yet we live in a society where everyone's just worried for themselves. And I do think that Christianity kind of helps push that narrative, right? You have Christian missionaries going to some of the poorest countries to preach about God because, again, those are the people who they can prey on the most. Those who are already in suffering, looking for anything to help them, even if it's just a mental shift. Star Melody says, I stay away from Christian men as a free black woman, don't need him. Oh, I totally get that as well. I'm actually starting to do the same. I didn't always kind of think it didn't matter, but I do know that Christian men are never going to stop trying to convert me, right? They may try to act like they're okay with it. Oh, I don't care. It's not that serious. I also love how when I would date Christian men, they would always try to do the whole sex before marriage. And I would always point it out, like, I thought you were Christian. Isn't that what you guys don't do that before? Oh, I'm not that kind of Christian. It's how they're willing to bend the rules. And all of a sudden, those rules don't apply. And it's not that serious when it comes to them getting their eggplant wet. But when it comes to things like women's rights or the LGBTQIA plus community, they have all these opinions and this is law and my Christian faith won't let me believe that and won't let me accept that lifestyle. They're the biggest hypocrites. Christians are some of the biggest hypocrites I've ever come across in life, specifically Christian men. Dana, have you heard about the Christian maternity houses and how they've been subjugating women to give birth and give up their children for adoption? What? No. Is there like an article on this or something? I would definitely do a video on that. How disgusting is that? How disgusting is that? It really is giving Handmaid's Tales. It really is. Christian maternity houses. The fuck? It shows how disgusting they are. No respect for boundaries. Absolutely not. And their own selfishness, because, YT women are having a decline in their birth weights, not so much because they don't want children. It's because they're really not having children. They're really not getting pregnant like that, as much as they don't want to admit it. So it makes sense. It's the thing that these Christian maternity houses, that just makes me sick. That's so gross. That is so gross. But it's totally plausible. And usually these children, they end up being put in the most harm's way. Joy Reid just had a whole discussion on it a few days ago. Joy Reid. Okay, let me write that down. I'm going to take a look into that. Joy Reid. I'm writing it down right now. Joy Reid. Christian maternity houses. And I feel like as an ex-Christian that it's a part of my job to kind of expose the church, and kind of liberate some minds. Like, I know that I can't change anybody's mind, really. Like I said, I do feel like these discussions help women come to terms, at least with who they are aligning themselves with. Even what men truly think about them, right? Because when you have men who are admitting that what they truly want women for, it's kind of hard it's a hard pill to swallow, depending on the kind of woman you are. Don't have the be Christian, just have faith in something greater than you. But why do you have to have faith in something greater than you? Would be my question to you, BD Dave. That would be my question to you. Why do you need anything outside of yourself? Why aren't you enough? Joy Reid just had I read that already. Yeah, I'm going to check that Joy Reid out. You don't become narcissistic. How is believing yourself becoming narcissistic? Why do you need an invisible character outside of yourself to not be narcissistic? I think that's kind of narcissistic. You have to believe something outside of yourself is giving you strength and power and giving you the belief in yourself to do things. Thinking you have all the answers is narcissistic. That's not what I said, though. Believing in yourself doesn't mean you have all the answers. Doesn't mean you don't accept help. It doesn't mean that you lose your humanity. Believing in something outside of yourself doesn't mean that at all. How did you come to that equation? How did you come to that conclusion? Because I never said anything about thinking that you had all the answers. But talking to an imaginary friend outside of yourself doesn't mean that the answers that you're getting are going to be true. It's mostly likely that you're listening to yourself anyways. We know less than 1% of things we could know. Why would you only trust yourself? I didn't say only trust yourself. But you don't need someone else, a power outside of you to be able to get up and do what's required for you to do in order to have, let's say, success. That doesn't mean that you don't need anybody else to get there, or you shouldn't work with anybody else to get there, or you shouldn't take advice from anybody else, but taking advice from a voice, like who's side of you? Because you're talking about an imaginary being that you're making up. You might as well just believe in yourself. So what do you know? And where do you know it from? Who told you about this creator and where are they? What do they look like? What do they sound like? You've heard their voice? Exactly. And I would prefer people, like, I don't mind people believing in a creator. I've said that, right? I'm just saying I don't think it's a necessary thing. And I definitely don't think that if you don't believe in a creator, you don't believe in anybody that's outside of yourself, and you look towards yourself to give yourself the strength to get up and to do what you need to do and what is required, means that you're narcissistic. I do believe that we are all interconnected, but I wish that we would act like it. And I don't think that necessarily means that there has to be some creator being. Again, there's no proof of any being out there. And I really wish that we would concentrate more on coming together and being in the physical present and coming together and creating a better world instead of waiting for something or somebody outside of us to do it for us, because I don't think that's going to happen. How does atheism cause more disconnection than religion, when religion, especially Abrahamic religions, create whole structures based on supremacy, xenophobia, and other things like that? Atheism doesn't do anything of that. In fact, atheism isn't a religion, it's not a monolith. So I don't know what you mean, because it's not like atheists are getting together in church, in some sort of atheist church every week, plotting and planning, take religion from other people. Like, religion actually isn't created by males. There were plenty of female-centered religions prior to patriarchy. In fact, a lot of those religions were infiltrated by men and changed and perverted into the religions that we have today, including the biblical, the Abrahamic religions. And I disagree with you, Dave, BD Dave. I disagree with you. I do think it matters where you get your faith, and I don't think that faith in certain gods is a requirement. You don't need to have faith in things outside of you in order to have and achieve success and have a successful life. So I don't agree with that. Do you think how the message is being taught is a huge problem? And do you think literacy, reading comprehension being a dramatic low contributes to how many people just accept what they hear? I do think that reading comprehension and education definitely does. It's easier to get people who are illiterate to and who don't know as much and who are less educated to believe these things. Um, I don't think that is the way it's being taught, because if you are to read this book for what it is, it still has a God that is a warmonger and who again commits acts of genocide, who upholds a group of people above other people. Like, right, the Israelites is upheld above other everybody else, even in the New Testament. And when you read about heaven, according to the doctrine in the scriptures, it is the Gentiles who will be building up this new earth. They'll be building up the houses. They'll be serving the Israelites. They'll even be breastfeeding their children according to the scripture of what the new earth will be, as far as a second coming. So I don't think it's it's how the message is. I think the message in itself is very dangerous, and does more harm than good. Why would it matter if they still achieve the same skill of faith? What skill of faith? Their faith matters because their faith, and when we're talking about Abrahamic religions, specifically Christianity, infiltrates and puts pressure on people who don't believe to believe, and persecutes those people who don't believe. Their faith interjects, they try to weave their faith into laws and into society, forcing people to come together and commit great acts of prejudice. Like I don't understand why you think that's a good thing. Just because I don't have faith in your God doesn't mean that I've given up. I don't have to have faith in a God in order to move forward and strive. Again, belief in myself is enough. I can believe in myself. I don't have to have faith in anybody outside of myself to achieve goals. I don't have to have faith in somebody being outside of myself that's going after me either, because they believe in Satan too. Nothing's ever their fault. If something good happens, it's God. Something bad happens, it's Satan. No self responsibility. You think that's good to have? You think those kind of mindsets are good to have? I don't agree. Thank you for the 4.4K likes. I think that's the most likes I've ever gotten in a live. So thank you so much for that. How do you not have faith in others? They are the ones perceiving you. Why do I need to? You sound like you're a pick me ass motherfucker. Like you need other people to believe in you in order to believe in yourself. You need to believe that there's something outside of you in order to do anything at all. Like think that makes you sound strong. That makes you sound pathetic. We have been given the all power within us to do what we need to do. Absolutely, we have. And anyways, who said that I didn't have faith in others? I don't have faith in everybody, but I don't have faith in everybody. I don't need Christian support to achieve big things or big goals. What's your point? Who said that I was trying to build a society by myself? You keep saying all these things that I have not said at all. Like you sound slow. You're just taking everything I'm saying out of context and going to the biggest exaggeration. Like the late George Carlin said, religion is bullshit. Absolutely. And religion divides more than it brings together, especially Christianity. Christianity divides everybody. Christianity says that you can own other people, right? According to the Bible. Christianity says it's okay to rape women as long as you've taken them captive after slaughtering their families. What does faith in others have to do with a faith in an imaginary God? I've never said that people shouldn't collaborate together. You're talking to me about things that have no basis in this conversation. You're making claims about me that I've not stated. You're making up shit. It's giving loser. We've been on for 2 hours. I have 3 people on YouTube, 5 on TikTok. Thank you so much. Please like the video, share the video, comment. I would love for some women to come up on this panel and share this discussion with me. No, having faith in a God is not the same thing as having faith in others. It actually has nothing to do with anything at all. Thank you, Global Danica, for sharing the live. Thank you for liking the live. Thank you for the gifts. Thank you for hanging out with me. You've been with me since the beginning of this live. I appreciate you so much. But yeah, I don't know why you're acting like having a faith in a God that an imaginary God is going to do anything. Okay, if you believe that I don't have faith in others, you can believe that. I've literally never said that. Like you just sitting there sounding dumb. This is probably the only interaction you ever have with women, Dave. That's why you're on here at 10:30 on a Friday night, infiltrating a discussion that I'm trying to have with women, saying shit that I never said. Jace, you said Christianity brings peace. I do not know a lot of Christians who have peace at all. In fact, you guys seem the most frazzled. So then why are you in other women's business while you're waiting for your girl to be done work? Why are you here? Why don't you go find men to be amongst? Why are you trying to infiltrate a live dedicated to women and discussions with other women? Well, see, that's the thing. A lot of Christian women will say that it gives them peace, and they'll talk about how God helped them pay a bill and how God helped them get a job, even though they did all the work. Like, you give praise to a God for doing things that you get up and do for yourself, and that if you did no effort, you wouldn't have. B Dave, if you don't know why you shouldn't be in women's business, then I mean, that just goes to show. I'm pretty sure since your girl's at work and you're at home, that you're in a female-led relationship. So I guess you do feel comfortable in women's spaces, speaking to women about things that don't concern you, right? I'm talking about women and how this Bible subjugates women. I think it's probably just a coping mechanism, but it's peaceful for me, so I've gaslit myself. At least you can admit that, Jace. I appreciate your honesty. I appreciate your honesty with that. Because that's what I think a lot of Christians do. To be honest, I think exactly that's what they're doing. But Jace, I don't think it's necessary. I think that you can be proud of yourself for the things that you've achieved, and you don't have to contribute to an imaginary friend outside of yourself, giving you the strength to do what you're doing the work to do. You're doing the work to do it. And I don't think there's anything wrong with being proud of yourself and giving yourself a pat on the back for having the strength to do that. I mean, you may have done it through the belief of something else, but it was you. It was you. And that's what I'll say. I'll congratulate you. I won't give it to God. I'm gonna give you your kudos for getting through everything that you've gotten through. See, look at D Dave. He can't even let Jace have their own opinion about their own experiences, right? See, I bet Jace doesn't throw her religion in everybody's face. It's okay, no worries, Jace. I understand if you don't have enough followers to join. You sure you can't join? Some people can. Hold on, let me see. I want to see if I can invite you, Jace, but I don't think I can. Or at least I don't know how to. At least I don't know how to. But that's okay. Oh, it's coming up, but it won't let you click. Damn. I would have loved to have a conversation with you. Hold on, there's two people in the guests. Hold on, maybe it's you, Jace. Jace, you can. Let's see who this other person is. I think I let you up. It says I let you up. It says that I let you up. Damn. Oh, I feel you, Jace. I was wondering. I couldn't tell. Because Jace is usually a man's name, and I don't have my contacts in, so your icon is so small I couldn't tell, and I didn't want to misgender you. So yeah, you're not ideal. See, this is. I think I'm gonna think about it, but I would really love to have the conversation amongst women because I'm really not confused as to why men want women to be Christian. Like, there's so many reasons why, right? Like Mr. B Dave, he probably couldn't get a woman if it wasn't for the Christian faith. He would have to search for a woman within the Christian faith to believe that he's actually worth, you know, being with. Only a Christian woman would put up with someone as simple-minded as BD Dave. Kamari said, I'm eating his ass up. I'm dead. Guys, he's being a little punk. He's being a little punk. Like, he's literally saying things that I never said during this live once, trying to label me and maybe label me as a narcissist because I don't have faith in some imaginary God outside of myself. Acting like that means that I can't possibly have faith in humanity to come together. Like, shut the hell up. Hey, Lilith Speaks. How are you? Religion makes people way too intricately motivated. Their value system is based on external factors, reward and punishment seems so unevolved at this stage of the human experience. Which is why I want to have the discussion, Lilith Speaks. Like, I wish you had TikTok. I don't know if you do, and if you can come up and share your perspective, especially because you have so much experience, and all of your credentials. I know I keep saying it, but I do want to do a live with you. I was actually thinking about it earlier today. I do want to, like, we have to get together and actually have a phone call or something. Lilith Speaks. We got to get together and have a phone call or something together. But yeah, Kamari, like, he came out here, like, why is he up here? Why did he come up here making excuses? I hate men who make excuses to be like in women's spaces like him, come with all the rudeness and sassiness, like he's getting ready to be bent over and be pegged by his woman when she gets home from work. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're waiting on her. Oh, I work during the day and she works evenings. Okay. That doesn't understand why you're up here. You see a post saying that I'm a woman looking to speak to other women, and you involve yourself at the rate that you do and have the audacity to try to be rude. The audacity to try and be rude. No, thank you. I'm not having it. I'm not having it. But I am going on live for like the next 3 hours. I'm at 4.5K likes. I actually want to have 5K likes. If you guys could type the screen, I think that I've ever gotten more than 5K likes in a single thing. I've actually, for the longest time, I have been trying to figure out what to do. As a Canadian, I only have so many options to how I can really participate with TikTok and actually like do some real content creator moves. But I love this topic. I really do want more engagement. And it will happen. It's just that, I'm new. This is my third time doing this topic, and I think it's like maybe my 7th live total, right? Which is such a waste because I do have a good following on TikTok, with over 4,000 followers. I just haven't honed into anything, and I really do need to start. So I actually need to start clipping up my videos from YouTube and stuff, and creating more content for TikTok for this specific niche, so that they can help me kind of push me out. When will he ever shut up? He did shut up. I think I ate him up, and I think he left because he hasn't said a word since I ate him up about why he's in the room full of women as a grown man, apparently trying to wait for his woman to come home. I hope you find your ladies. I support this line of discussion. Have a great night. Thanks, some dude. Oh, hello, my fellow Canadian. I hope that thank you so much. I hope that you tap the live on your way out so that this video can reach more people, so that we can get more people in the live. I've had some cool discussions with people in the comments, even with some men. I've had some cool discussions. I don't mind men asking questions in the comments, but when they come with that kind of attitude and that sassy behavior, I'm gonna check it every time. Global Danica says I'm becoming one. Oh. But yeah, like, I'm sorry. I can't stand when men act like that. Like, it's one thing, I understand you could be curious. You come in the room, you hear me talking, and you have an opinion. But all of that sassy behavior, all the gaslighting he was doing, all of I just, no, I wasn't for it. You're not going to come in here and talk to me like that. And then put a bunch of words in my mouth, trying to conflate faith with directly with being able to produce anything. Like, oh, it's narcissistic for you to just think you can do everything by yourself. I never said we could do anything by ourselves. This is why I'm talking about this. I think we do need to come together as women. And as if we're going to come together as women and share this space, we need to be real about what that looks like. And I personally think that Christianity is a harm to women coming together, especially with Christian women, because they hold these beliefs. And when we have these discussions with Christian women, I only hear them showing themselves as a danger to moving forward. And I think we need to be aware of that. Oh yeah, yes, you're becoming a Canadian. Love the way you check them. Thank you. I ain't got time for the bullshit. I'm not gonna let men come in here and make us feel a way about the conversations that we feel we need to have as a community. I'm sorry, I don't pray. I'm agnostic and atheist. I don't pray. So you can't get me to pray for you. Sorry, swastik. I don't do that. And I don't allow people to pray for me. So just in case you're thinking of it, you do not have my consent. I definitely want to chat and make something happen soon. We will for sure. I'm just tuning in. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm trying to get the conversation going. I think this could work. I just need to tap into this. Again, I don't really, a lot of people who deconstruct, they have connections, but I don't have connections. Oh, I have someone in the guest live. Hold on. Oh, it's Global Donica. I accepted. I hope that is. Oh, there we go. Finally. Hi, Global Donica. How are you?
I am fine. How are you doing? I know it took me a hot second, but I wanted to see where everybody was talking and going with the conversation. It was
Hmm.
quite interesting. So thank you for having this panel and this talk because we need to get people talking, and women I think need to stick together with this because I think in this mode of patriarchy and religion we've just been brainwashed. We've been brainwashed to just buy into it and not really reach within to
Hmm.
say, hey, we have been given all the power that we need to do what we need to do to help and be a contributing citizen and also to help the world, the planet,
Hmm.
all of us, and
Hmm.
to be a support system. And when we start looking outside of ourselves, that's when we totally fuck up, excuse the French, but that's when we mess up. And this is what we're doing. We think that there's this I don't know, ancient man sitting on a chair
Hmm.
looking down and oh, you're gonna fix this. No, there's nobody coming to fix anything. It's our job to fix this world. It's our job to make this place better, not just for ourselves but all of humanity. Until we understand that, we're going to keep going backwards, and that's what's happening right now. If we don't
Yeah.
stop this, we're going right back into Handmaid's Tale. That's what we're going. That's what we're in
Hmm.
route. We're en route right now to Handmaid's Tale,
Yeah.
and I'm not playing. I'm not going to be anybody's handmaid. Okay, um, I really don't want anybody's Martha, but
Oh my God. Listen.
okay, I'm gonna be honest. If they catch me, I'll probably be a Martha at one of the Jezebels,
Hmm.
cleaning some sheets or something. Because I don't want anybody touching me. I don't want anybody trying to force themselves on me. Uh, I think I hate to say, and I'm not going to be an aunt because that's or an aunt. I usually say aunt because that's no different than being a plantation overseer, basically. So I would be a rebel. I'm just going to be honest. I would be a rebel. I'd
Same.
be part of Mayday. So there you have it.
Same. I would definitely be a rebel. I could see myself being a Martha and being one of the Marthas. You see, remember that scene with the little girl and she said, "My Martha told me how to like pretty much." Um, I don't know if I could say this word on TikTok. I
Use
hate
what?
TikTok for that because I'm trying to think of a word. Damn it, it's poison. Remember, she was like, she gave her a concoction to give her husband, her very old elderly
Oh
husband.
yes, that's
That
Miss
I
Mrs.
would be that
T.
Martha, like, yo, girl, like, you can't take him out, but this can help you. And I'd be definitely try to find a way. I would definitely be with June. I would definitely be down to just
That's what
take
I
it
think
all
for her
down,
too.
burn in the city. You know what I mean?
I would be doing the same thing. I would be a part of that group of, come on, guys, let's go ahead and get back to our traditions. Let's just go ahead and use that term. Let's go back to our traditions, the apothecary,
Hmm.
and let's go ahead and spread the apothecary. So yeah, let's spread the apothecary, y'all, and
No,
we can
you're
become
so
one.
right. That's what I'm saying. Like the way that, like, I'm like, this is a global thing. This thought process, this religion, the way that they brainwash people is harmful to society. It would be one thing if they just kept it to themselves, but now they're trying to make everybody believe as they believe. You know what I mean? Like they're trying to force it on everybody. And like you said, we're gonna start moving backwards. Like I was talking about before, like we're going through the first extinction of its kind. It's a humanity issue, and too many people are like looking outside of themselves. I feel like a lot of people are. Yes, I believe in meditation and all that stuff, but when you spend so much time in the stars, in the astral realm, and you're not bringing yourself back here and helping, and I don't know how to help in all these certain ways. I do think these discussions are going to help because again, a lot of women don't even know what they've really signed up for as far as Christianity.
No.
It's funny to me when I am participating in these panels on and listening to these other deconstruction zones, and the women, their shock at what they're hearing, and when they hear words like what I was reading about David and Bathsheba, or about the women who were taken by the Israelites, and then forced, if one of the Israelite men sees her and wants to marry her and decides that she's the one after murdering her family, he can just take her and shave her head, clean her nails, and cut them up, and then let her
Oh,
mourn for a month
yeah.
before going
And
inside her. Like to me, I'm like, that is disgusting. Like, how can we say that this is a God that's all loving? That this
well,
is a
Dina, do you remember Dina? That she was
yes.
raped, I believe, by her cousin, if I'm not mistaken, and then she had to marry the man who raped her. I believe her brother said that she had to.
Oh, say
It's
grape. Sorry, TikTok.
no. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Grapes, purple, green. Okay, I want to
Yeah,
point out.
you just have to make the words sound different because they'll strike the
Oh
law.
my gosh. Okay,
It's so annoying.
and
Even
so
that's why you hear me say schmurder or unalive, because you can't say those words either.
you
Like it's
can't,
very
and that's
sensitive
another thing.
before
It's
they be like, we're gonna
crazy.
cut you off. So
So I apologize, y'all. We're gonna be on here, okay? We're gonna be on here. We're gonna be on here for a hot minute. So, but when that happened to her, this is supposed okay. But some of these scriptures were created and written to justify the patriarchy and also the lusts of men
hmm
and of males. Actually, I want to clarify males because I believe woman and man because we're all man. We're just man with a womb. So when we're talking about males, it justifies their inadequacies, their insecurities, um, and not being able to control their flesh. Because if you remember back in and this all throughout the scripture too. I mean, you've got young women, you've got females just being handed off, and that's where we get all of these crazy traditions where you've got 12 and 15-year-olds being married off, and we think this is God's will. Well, what brainwashing are women just willing to accept? Are you willing to accept to watch your 15-year-old or a 13 or a 14-year-old get married off to a 40 and 50-year-old man? To me, that's crazy. And then we want to say, well, this is God's will. Really? Well, what God are you talking to?
Especially when we know what we know now. Like it's one thing to talk about biblical times. They were ignorant, illiterate, all these things. Now we know better. We know the psychological effects on what happens to these girls. We know what it happens to their bodies when they develop young and they are entered into at younger ages. It's not healthy for them. We know that now. We have the data. So how are you still holding this standard that this is the way things should be? Even though we now know that, like, even like I was saying with the whole test of virginity, half of the time girls don't bleed their first time of intercourse. I mean,
That's
you know how
correct.
many girls were probably stoned to death
Yeah.
because they were probably virgins but didn't bleed their first night, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, how can you believe that this God is all knowing? Because he would have known that, right? He built, according to Christians, he built us, he made us. Therefore, he would know that a woman's hymen doesn't bleed every time like it breaks during their first form of intercourse. And he still made a law and rule that enabled you to stone her if she didn't. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's crazy to me. All these barbaric things that they want to bring back. Like you said, they want to move backwards. It's very, very scary. Because I
And
couldn't imagine not having my own bank account, my own place, that to me is scary. Like you
it's
said, I
scary.
would probably be a Martha. I might even, because I'm so mouthy, they might make me a Jezebel girl. They might just throw
They
me into
probably would.
prostitution.
They might, and I would say, I hate to say it, but I don't want to be a Jezebel, but I would want to work in Jezebel. Okay, like you could even put me in the kitchen. At least there's some level of freedom in the sheet because you could move around. You
Yeah.
could move around a lot more. And if you remember the series, how if some men did get a little aggressive of how they disposed of them per se. Okay, so I have to, like I said, I'm trying to be careful. If you remember one of the main commanders in Washington, you remember what happened to him. So he became a little bit aggressive with one of the female handmaids, and they wrapped him up, and he could have been someone's dinner pretty much. But anyway,
Yeah,
moving
even that
forward.
was scary because you see how, like, even like in the Handmaid's Tale, speaking of the Washington D.C. episodes, that was scary. Like how much worse the women were treated there, but also all the undercover stuff going on. Like remember that one commander that kept shoving his butt in
Yes,
in
and
Wilfred's
then the
face.
women, their mouths were pierced. They were pierced to where they were
Yes,
closed, and I'm thinking, are you serious?
stapled shut.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Oh,
I'm
hold
like,
on. I
well,
do have
how
some
do you?
comments on YouTube. Hold on a second. Sorry. I just want to read them. Kamari Andrew says the funniest part about men wanting women to participate in Christianity slash church, men hardly go themselves. I saw plenty of women in my life give up on trying to get them to go. Absolutely. My dad was one of them. My dad loves the Christian woman, but he never attended church. He would literally drop us off at church and go to work. So I've literally seen that in live action. And it's because he, personally, he's never told me this, but I just assumed that he just liked the idea of having a submissive woman. Because even if you're a non Christian man, if you get with a Christian woman, she's taught that she could save you through prayer. They're going to try to save you through prayer. They're going to, like, they'll marry you for the sense of having a husband and trying to change you over to their God. Kamari says it's fake contrived BS in order to make women docile and subservient. Absolutely. Star Melly said, gross. And then Lilith Speaks said, these organized religions are set up to force women to submit and to disconnect us from our feminine powers. Star Melly said, we are not going back. Absolutely. Yep, so true. Your hymen can break during horseback ride. These rules these guys come up with are stupid as F. Absolutely. You're right. It's so true. Thank you
All
guys so much.
strong. We got to
Sorry, go
stand
ahead.
strong. We got to stand strong.
We do. And it's going to take us coming together. And that's why, like, even like, I didn't know that these things were in the Bible when I first left Christianity. Like I said, when I first left Christianity, it was enough for me to know and understand that this was something given to my people to oppress us. Like you couldn't convince me that someone who was oppressing me and enslaving me was going to give me a religion that was going to save me and uplift me and empower me. That did not make sense to me. But when I started deconstructing patriarchy, I started coming across these panels where they're deconstructing Christianity. And I realized how much had been ingrained in me and still lived in me that Christianity gave me. And I wanted to uproot the shit out of that stuff, especially because I was deconstructing patriarchy. And for me, the root of my internalized misogyny came from me being raised in the church. Right, so I am now in the midst of rereading the Bible. I'm rereading it over on YouTube. I'm in the midst of doing Genesis. I'm almost finished Genesis. I do about 4 chapters a week, and I post them in my members only section of YouTube. And I've been doing that for quite a bit, and it's enlightened me. And I've only gotten through Genesis, and I'm already irritated. Wednesday, I was talking about how Abraham is such a waste man, the way that he pimped out Sarah, those 2 times, his lack of obedience, and his lack of faith. I just found him to be like I don't understand why God would choose such a man to be head of a nation and head of a people with all the bullshit he did. You know what I mean? He pretty much every time he would go into a city, he'd be so scared that people would love his wife or be attracted to his wife that they would unalive him. Even though this God of the Bible told him that he would be protected under him. He never trusted the God. He always made Sarah lie, and then he would use Sarah to pretty much pimp out gifts. These, like with Sarah in one chapter, Sarah she went and the Pharaoh took interest in her, thinking that that was Abraham's sister. He was courting her laying with her. He was giving Abraham oxen, sheep, servants, slaves, and Abraham just let him believe it. And then God cursed the Pharaoh, and then the Pharaoh had to go back to him. What's going on? Like, why did you tell me this was your sister? And I've been laying with your wife, and now your God has cursed my home. Depart from me. But he'd get to leave and keep everything. Like he was the biggest grifter. And then he did it again with this King Ablamek. I don't know if I'm saying his name right. And King Ablamek and lay with Sarah, thinking that was his sister. And God came to him in a dream, told him that he was going to curse his household because the woman he lay with was married. And the king then pleaded with God in the dream, talking about, well, I didn't know she was married. This man told me that was his sister. How could you curse my whole household? For something that I did not know. And the God of the Bible said, well, you know what, you're right, pretty much. Yeah, you're right. Go back to Abraham, and if he chooses to forgive you, then I'll forgive you and lift the curse. I thought that was so odd. It's almost like God was helping him. So this man went, gave him back his wife, gave him back Sarah, gave him oxen, gave him servants, gave him gold, gave him everything. Abraham's like, called him out. It was like, Abraham, why did you lie? You told me that this was your sister, not your wife. How could you do this? And Abraham was like, oh, well, technically, she is my sister, not from my mother, but from my father. So I did not really lie. Like I was just like reading this, like, yo, who is this man? He's such a waste man. He's such a loser. How could God choose this man of all men on earth? And if this was the best that he had to get, it's not a good look for men. You know what I mean? Like, it's not a good look. I can see why we're thriving single if this was the best man God could come across. This deviant little weasel. You know what I mean? So he got to then take his wife, keep the oxen, keep the servants, keep the slaves, keep the sheep, keep the cattle, keep the camels, and everything like that. Right? I was disgusted with that story. Me reading it was crazy to me. Funny as hell, but crazy. I was just like, Abraham is a loser. Father of all nations. Most like waste man of all nations. Go ahead, Global.
No, he's a waste man of all nations. Well, he needs to regroup because what he left and what he has sired, I don't know. Man, I don't know if he could have done it better. I don't know.
It
And
didn't
then
make any
Noah,
sense to me. I was like, yo, why would God choose this man? Like, what?
this man to do, and then you start thinking, okay, so metaphorically, or using it as I don't know.
Hold
It's
on a
just
second.
That doesn't
And
tell
I'm
what
looking for
it's
women 25 and up. Do you identify as a woman?
his character, his attributes. What is he made of? Who created him? Nobody.
What?
Just
What's
what's
going
going
on?
on. What is that?
I'm just gonna drop them. I don't even know if they know they're
So,
famous.
so you just admitted something could come from nothing.
No, it said that I accepted your request to come up, Danny, but you can drop down if you didn't mean to be up here. Here, I'll drop you down. Yeah, I don't think it
Oh
meant to be up
wow,
here.
what was that? That was interesting. Well, and having these conversation, it makes you really want to go into the more esoteric knowledge or occult knowledge because nobody wants to talk about Lilith. Lilith
Hmm.
apparently was created before Eve. That's the story of her, but she was an independent woman.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
and so, but nobody wants to talk about Lilith. And then, it also want to make you think about what about all the books that were not canonized? So why wasn't it canonized? Is that some of our power that we need to look at, or we need to revisit, or even the book of the Apocrypha, where all of the other books, it speaks about other women who were in power, who were disciples. They don't even talk about that in some of these services. And you can tell the demeanor of men who are pastors when they teach these sermons, it's to teach that men are elevated. So my
Well, yeah.
go-to,
Even in the New Testament, we have texts that say, women be silent, and you have to talk to your husband if you want understanding, and have him create the understanding for you. It's all. And you're right. They take things out. This was canonized to keep people oppressed. You know what I mean? Keep people in suffering and thinking that if they suffer long and hard enough and good enough, that they'll be rewarded in the afterlife. But like I said, the afterlife described in the Bible isn't even the afterlife that they try to preach at the
It's
pulpit.
not. It's a level of consciousness or dimension. So it just depends on how hard and how deep you're willing to go search for it. It's just like I always tell men. When men tell me, oh, the man is head of the wife, I said, well, if you really want to go by scripture, if you read in Genesis that the two are supposed to walk as one, so if you're walking as one, how the hell are you going to be a head over me? It doesn't make sense to me. And so they're like, well, that, well, in context, okay, so now we're talking about in context. So I could say the same thing about you being over me. I said, so why would I even bother being married if that's the case?
I would even suggest this, even with the whole Adam and Eve thing. Technically, when you think about it, a part of the curse was to be under Adam. That was a part of her curse. She wasn't under him until she made that decision to eat from there, the apple. And then and the thing is, like, he was standing right beside her, right? He was right there. Adam could have said no. It was almost like Adam was waiting to see what happened to Eve after she ate it, to see if he should eat it too. You know?
So that tells me they were weak from the beginning. So who are they going to be the head over? Who are you going to be the head over? So yeah.
And it was a part of her curse to be under him from that day forward. He said that a part of your curse, a part of my curse was to increase labor pain. So they're like, oh, you got labor pain because of sin. No, he increased it because of sin, meaning it was always there. You can't increase something that's not there. He would have given her pain. He said, I'm going to increase it greatly. And then he said, I'm also going to put you now under under Adam and under your husband. You'll have to serve and listen. That was a part of the curse. So I'm thinking that, because like you said about Lilith too, like I have that too. Adam was, I said, what, I think I have a video on YouTube called Adam was the first incel. Because
I love it. I've got to go see that. Oh my God.
Yes, I have a video called, I guess I'm breaking down the creation story, because every time I read it, I connect something new to it. And I'm just like, he's the first incel, especially when you think about how he treated Lilith. Right? Like, listen, oh, well, she wants to be on top, and then she won't let me be in charge. So then she gets banished with his whiny ass, and then he makes her another woman, and he still can't get the girl to listen to him. You know?
He can't get right.
The craftiest creature in the garden came up to her, and he stood right there listening to the conversation. Because remember, he was right there beside her when the snake approached Eve and told him that God was a liar, which was true. You know, he told her, listen, this God's lying to you. You're not going to die. And he knows you're not going to die on the day that you eat this fruit. Your eyes will be open and you will know from good and evil, and you will be like God. And then God confirms it when he says, see? And then who's he talking to? If he's the only God, then who's he saying, see? He goes, see? The woman and man has ate from the fruit, and now they are like us. He said it himself. You know what I mean? Like,
yes,
please.
Yes. And that's why I tell people we are one with this whole entire creation. So why are we looking outside of ourselves for something to save us? Because we're here. We have everything we need to do what we need to do, but no one wants to think, and so they use religion to put people under subjection. And I hate to say it, I don't think men can handle being in authority. I mean, look where we're at right now.
That's what I'm saying.
They can't.
Like, if you watch, and I have, again, YouTube, I have a video, Women Are Superior, and I talk about how this man did a whole bunch of brain scans showing that women are far better leaders. And then there was this psychiatrist who deals with men and the fact that they are not evolving emotionally like women are, and how far behind they are. We are far more, have the attributes to lead than they do. Yeah. And that's why we used to lead. And I believe that, you know, when you know, they tried to take over and broaden patriarchy, they did really have to go to men. I mean, I'm reading a book, When God Was a Woman, and they said that in Egypt, one of the writers there, he said that when he went there, the men stayed home and weaved baskets and watched the children, while the women went and did the government stuff and all that, things like that. This was in Egypt prior to Abrahamic religions coming and descending on them. They came to like kind of check it out and see, and he was amazed, and he said, look at the women, they are contributing so much to society, and the men would stay home. Again, he literally said the men stayed home and weaved baskets. They weren't doing
Yeah,
shit.
they,
Okay.
they weren't. But that's why we know how to multitask. We could run
Mhm.
circles around them, but due
But
to
it makes sense because even men, the whole creation thing again is stupid because even now we know that all fetuses are female before they turn male. We all
absolutely.
start off as female, so it doesn't make sense the whole creation story coming from men. You aren't even a man till how many weeks you're in the womb. You all
But
start
you
off as women, and then like you're the mutation of us. How could you be better than the original?
or why would you even be over a woman when you came through a woman? That doesn't make sense to me. If
Exactly.
you know you're gonna come through a woman to be for her to be in subjection to you. Are you serious? No, no, no. I don't get. Actually, Dr. Sabi said the same thing. I was reading about him. He said, "There's no way. Why would? How can a man be over a woman when he came through a woman? That doesn't make sense." So,
It
yeah,
doesn't. It
doesn't
doesn't.
make sense at all. Oh my gosh, I just love these conversations.
Me
How
too.
long are you on here? And do you do this every week?
Well, I'm thinking about doing twice a week because that seems to be like what TikTok kind of wants from me. Go live at
Mm-hmm.
least twice a week for at least 30 minutes. I think the last time they gave me a challenge of 3 hours, I shorted off because I was lazy because like nobody comes up to my panel. But I know that again, it's because I'm not doing what I need to do. I do need to post more, especially about deconstruction, so that the algorithm kind of knows who to send me to and who would be interested in these topics. But I am
Uh,
so right now I'm going Wednesday nights and Friday nights
okay.
for now. And I was thinking because the thing is, I just don't like see talking to men pisses me off, right? Even the men in the comments, they piss me off. That's why I
Yeah,
don't have a
they
conversation with
almost
them.
had me going. I'm thinking, okay, you know what? Let me calm down because I know
They get your
um,
blood
I'm,
boiling with
I'm
their
in your
ignorance.
house. I'm in your house, and I want to be respectful. But I'm thinking, okay, so if you're gonna come in and you're a male because this space is for women, okay, yes, you have been given grace to come in as a male to speak, but you have to be mindful of the comments. And so I'm not really understanding, but I have to give it to males. When they stick together, they stick together. I wish women had that same mindset, because we sometimes we as women can become catty and not supportive. But we've got this is what's happening. We've got to stay together because now it's allowing this patriarchy to really come back to almost full circle. I mean, I do not want this world or even America to become the Handmaid's Tale because that's we're in route right now. So it's scary. So is that happening with Canada? Because I know it is a
I'm gonna
Christian.
add you as a moderator.
Oh, okay, thank you. Oh, that is that's such a blessing. Thank you.
No,
Um,
I like you, and plus, like, I do want to have moderators here, especially because, like, again, with the men, I can't. I am thinking of like even as we go down the road of all of this, you know what I mean? Like I
mhm.
want allies and things to be a part of it. So I do need moderators on both TikTok and YouTube because people come in and troll. So and
Oh yeah, they love
I
to
like
troll on here.
conversing with you. We're on the same wavelength, and I like these conversations as well. So
Awesome. This is an honor. Thank you so much. Well, yeah, I'll cut him now. So get me. I'll cut him. Like what? What are you talking about? So now, are you from Canada originally?
yes, so I was born and raised in Canada. My parents migrated from Jamaica. They weren't actually together. They met here, got married, had 3 children, but they migrated both here to Canada as teens. My mom came at 17. My dad came at 19,
Okay.
and they had us. My I have 2 older siblings on my mom's side. Anyways, my dad has more children. But yeah, I grew up in Canada. I grew up in Ottawa. So I grew up very like secluded and then came more to Toronto when I was a teenager. So yeah, I did grow up in Canada. I had my own experiences, of course, but I mean, growing up as like it's not as multicultural as people like to think it is. Certain areas are more like Edmonton's a bit more cultural. Like you'll find a lot more multiculturalism. Toronto for sure, and then Montreal and some places in BC, but there are not really a lot of black people up here. There is in those areas, but outside those areas you won't, which is not a big deal or anything like that. You're seeing more and more people of color coming, and you're seeing more and more of like the echoing of like the Americans with like the immigrants Americans are coming in and taking our jobs, even though they don't want the jobs.
They don't want it,
No,
but they don't want anybody else to take them. But you know,
period.
years ago, my grandparents lived there, but that was back in the day when you could just pick up and leave. Now you have to have a passport to get into Canada now.
I remember
But
those days. I remember when you could just go over and you didn't need a passport. That
hmm
stopped after 9/11, unfortunately.
yeah,
That's when they
and
stopped
actually,
it.
I was detained in Canada once. So
Really?
yeah, they were going through my passport, asking me what was my high school, where did I go to high school, why did I go to certain countries, and that was really interesting because that has never happened. But I was going into Hamilton when that happened. I like Hamilton. I really like the small city of Hamilton.
Hmm.
Um, and I was going to a conference, and I kind of looked at him because I'm thinking, Dad, I used to come back and forth to visit, my grandparents. I'm thinking, man, are you serious? But you don't act like that when in that type of situation. You just answer the question so you can get your passport back and get on the plane. You know, but it was very different. But I still love Canada, though. I'm not gonna kid you.
Yeah,
I
I
love.
love Canada, and I do see the difference. Like I'm not gonna say like I said, Canada has racism and all those things too. My friend just reminded me like, it was just in 1963 that they were burning crosses on black people's homes out in Oakville, which is about 2 hours out from Toronto. You know what I
What?
mean? Yeah, we did have those things. They don't talk about it. They don't make a big deal of it. It's kind of hush hush. Canada likes to look like we're great. We love everybody. In a lot of ways they are better, but in a lot of ways they have the same mentality. So
Hmm.
that's why even like when I saw the turn in like even Handmaid's Tale, I know it's like a fictional show, but I think sometimes fiction mirrors life, and
Hmm.
that's a big possibility of what we see them kind of actively trying to make that happen. And
Hmm.
just like how Canada started turning around and started being a little, I could totally see that happening here, because they're much more nice up here about things, but they
Hmm.
don't f with it either. And you can even just look at how they treat the Native Americans to see that they aren't much different than their American counterparts. They act like better than the Americans, but they're not that much better.
You know, if America loses her rights, I mean, to be honest, there won't be any other places to run to. I really do believe that.
Mhm.
Um, if America goes, let's just say hypothetically speaking, into a Handmaid's Tale, I mean, globally, everybody's going to be in trouble. I mean, just it's like a domino effect around the world when it comes to the economy.
Yeah.
So, a lot of these countries are having birth rate issues. They don't want to die off. They don't want to die out. So it's like, where do you go from there? Where do you go? Mexico has its own issue. Each country has their own issue. It's just, what are you willing to deal with? But
It's
it just,
true. It's
U.S. is
true.
just, it's an in your face place, though. That's what I think. It's just such an in your face.
Yeah. And I do see more people moving abroad, and I wish like it wasn't I wish it was easier too, but there's a reason why they don't make it so easy, right? They don't want us actually moving around, experiencing other places, understanding that there's places outside of it, right? Ruin the
Well, yeah,
idea of the
because
American
it
dream.
uproots misnomers and the misinformation that we have been given as people, as women, and also melanated people. So, because you might have certain issues, but we could really do well living all over the world. It's just, are you able to pivot? And so, if you're
Yeah.
in this type of mindset, are you able to pivot? Are you able to create your own money? Because technically, that's what we were born to do. We weren't born to be slaves of anybody. Everything that we need is on this earth. We have the
Hmm.
fruit, we have the herbs for our medicine, we've got water, but we're not taking care of ourselves because we're not taking care of the planet. And so then we've got
And
this
it's hard to take care of ourselves these days. They keep us so busy and so money hungry and
and
keep us in
stress.
scarcity and
Hmm.
in the scarcity mindset and in scarcity places that like people find it hard to find a moment to really relax, and you know what I mean, and to even we do have everything we need, but everything we need is kind of kept to us or hidden behind a great big wall that we have to kind of climb over, and not everybody gets over, and like it
Yes,
creates such
yes.
obstacles, and it's hard because and that's why you're seeing even crime going up and things like that because of the scarcity. All these prices are going up. Even in Canada, it's gotten super expensive.
I
However,
know, but Canada has always been a little pricey. You
yeah,
know, Canada has always been a little pricey, but I mean, it's doable. To be honest, I don't think it's any different than Alaska. Alaska is horrendous. I mean, about I want to say about maybe 8 years ago, you're talking about a Subway sandwich was like $10, which I thought was ridiculous at the time. But you make it work. You just make it work.
yeah. But it sucks because like we should have living wages. We should be able to make it work. It shouldn't be so difficult to buy food and all these other things. Like it shouldn't be this way at all, and it doesn't have to be that way. And I feel like people think that if we give too much, then people won't work or anything like that. But it's like I don't think we were supposed to come here to be working this hard to live a good life.
No, and we're not supposed
It's
to.
enough for everybody to literally live a good life. We could still live a good life and still have a gap between the wealthy and you know what I mean. We could still live well, but then
Mm,
that doesn't create more money, more slaves for them. You know what I mean? Which is what
yeah.
they want, right? We need to be generating money for them so that they could keep hoarding the wealth, and it's like they have more than enough money to do with more than enough to do whatever with. I don't know. It's just
Like, how much is
it's sad.
enough? You know, how much is enough? So yeah, it's definitely we're in crisis. And I was trying to think about the gentleman that talks about males and their mindset. I think is it I could be I'm not pronouncing it correctly. Is it Kavian or Kavian?
I don't know
He's
if
a
I know that
doctor
person.
that talks about women and men's brains are different. That's why women are superior.
I think that's what I have in my video. That same, and he's white bald, right?
Yeah,
And
but
he did a
I'm
TED
not
talk
pronouncing
about it
his name
too.
correct.
I
Yes,
I covered his interview on Dr. Oz, and then I transitioned over to this psychiatrist that also talks about men and how far behind they are just emotionally and things like that.
hmm
And he talked about um so no, I feel you on that. I do think, like I said, it's coming more forward. Women are seeing, right? We've been given these options. Women don't want to have children. Why would they? Why would we want to have children? You make it so hard for mothers. You don't respect mothers. You don't care about mothers. You don't even care about prenatal care. You know what I
They don't
mean?
care
They're
about
taking away
women.
more and more.
They don't care about women. So I've never wanted to have children. And so a lot of women used to really try to make me feel bad
Hmm.
or less than because I've always been kind of I don't want to say a rebel, but out of the traditional ways. And I said, no, I don't want to do that. I think I watched too many birthing films that did that. I think so. It wasn't so much a rebel. I'm like, oh no, I can't. I don't want to do that. I don't want to go through all that. So that was a wrap when I saw too many of those. So, but because of the patriarchy and also religion, that's what they used to do. Well, this is what God said, and I'm thinking, well, no, it said according to the scriptures now that you're supposed to multiply. There's other ways to multiply besides having children. Now, I don't knock anybody who wants to have children,
Hmm.
but in this day and
I
age,
mean, I was one and done. You couldn't get me to do more after the one. First of all, it took me. It didn't take me long to realize how much I was lied to about motherhood.
mm-hmm,
I did feel like I got trapped into it because if I had known so much, I would have waited. If anything,
uh-huh,
'cause it's not like I did want children, you know what I mean? But I wasn't going to do it if I didn't have the right setup. But I was convinced, and at the time I was still Christian, right? So it was wrong for me to do. And I love my daughter with all my heart, but I wish I had waited to have her because I could have given her more. I could have given her better in a mental space because I was going through a lot of trauma at the time too. I didn't have to go through all that. If people had been honest with me about everything that came with motherhood, how you know what I mean, everything that I went through, I remember I'd be like, well, I feel this way, and people are like, oh, that's normal, and I'd be like, well, when I got pregnant, you didn't tell me that, and I was trying to make a decision. You know what I mean? Like you then it was like, oh, prayer and don't worry, children are such a blessing. But then when I was struggling and I was having all these problems and I was going through postpartum depression, oh, that's a part of it. Y'all never told me any of this.
Tell me
You know
this
what I
part.
mean? I was one and done. Oh, you're not gonna give her a sibling? Fuck you. I can't. I'm trying to give her the best life I can, and I'm struggling to do that. Now you want me to give her a sibling? You must be out of your goddamn mind.
Yeah. I think, I don't know. I just, oh Lord, I think most people would have waited to have children if they would
Or
have had.
decided not to at all.
Yeah, yeah.
Period.
I think most women would either waited or just not had them at all. I mean, I have a lot of, I have not a lot, but I have one friend. She's going through a divorce right now, and she totally jumped down my throat when I was telling her. I said, you're in church, you're praying for this guy, he's still cheating on you. I said, no matter how much you want to pray, you could be the best wife, and a guy will cheat. And she was, well, I've got to be the best wife I can be for God. And I said, I get that. And I said, but he's still walking out the door. And I guess people say, you need to have more compassion. And I was just very frank with her, because I told her in the beginning, I said, once you divorce, you remarry the guy, that just gives him a leeway to cheat better. And so now all this time you realize that he was probably cheating this whole time. And you're still going to church, you're still praising God, and the guy don't ask women for divorce. Not usually. The women will walk
Yeah,
away.
80% of the time the women will walk. Men will stay and be miserable and they'll still stay.
But not this time. This guy told her that he wanted a divorce because he was tired of lying. So, and then when she finally called me, and this was 4 or 5 months into the separation period, she says, this is what I need to tell you. And I said, well, I'm here for you. I support you. I said, but I'm not surprised. Well, what do you mean by that? I said, because he's done it before. You're remarried, and men normally just figure out how to do it better. Just go around. I said, and when you up here praising God and praying and fasting that he'll do this, he still has his own will. And I said, and who's to say you were supposed to be with him in the first place? Did anybody tell you to remarry the nuthead? We get caught up in this religiosity about marriage, and oh my God, and now here you are divorced again from the same man who cheated on you the second time, and now you've got 2 more kids added to the 1 kid that you got to deal with now.
Yeah.
So, and of
Trust
course,
me, like taking care of children from broken homes, there's so much trauma in that. Like, there's so much. Even Star Melody says on YouTube, she said, having kids is expensive. I refuse to give birth to any kids. And I get it. I'm becoming a midwife, not because I agree that women should have children, just because I think women need more women in those spaces who are actually there for them. Because a lot of women of color pass away in childbirth way more than a lot of others, but also women in general just need more support. You know what I mean? I want to support women, whether I get wanting to have children, you know what I mean? Even though right now it does seem a bit more selfish, but like they still deserve to have a safe delivery and to have safe outcomes. They need more women in those type of spaces, to be honest. But so that's why I'm going back to school to become a midwife. But
that's wonderful.
It's not because, like, I'm not against people having children, but I'm totally for it. I totally get it. I had one and I'm like, listen, I mean, I'm honest with my daughter. My daughter says she doesn't want any damn kids. She's like, she's 13 and she's already like, nah, I don't think so. Or maybe I'll adopt.
Yeah, I'm more into, I could possibly do that, but then you got to be careful. It's just a vicious cycle. We're just in a world right now where we need to see more humanity. And the patriarchy is not helping when it comes to humanity. Yeah. You can't have a power struggle while you're suppressing another group, because eventually they're going to rebel, and it's going to be hell and high water when that next level just totally rebels. So we'll see.
And that's why, like, even like I believe like in a matriarchal society, more so egalitarian, because I think everything should be equal. I think if everything's equal, women will dominate and it will become matriarchal anyways. But
Yeah,
I do, you know what I mean? That's why I think I believe in such an egalitarian society, because we all, the community helps you take care of the children. It
absolutely.
Peace way. We should all be looking out for each other's children, all be protecting the children. We should care about one another's children as we care about our own. And we should protect them with that same fierceness. You know, especially when we see again the rising rates, even in Christian like churches, like I was saying before, like how much SA like is are we gonna allow to happen and excuse in these churches and just throw money at the victims and survivors of these cases. You know what I mean? Like it's disgusting, and it obviously shows that there's a problem. Like I said, like a Christian, a lot of them are found in prisons, right? You're talking about murderers and rapists and child smashers.
Yeah, yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
And they turn, and then that becomes a hub for them. And because the women are there thinking, I have to forgive him and treat him like God would treat, you know what I mean? They let these men in their homes, and these men have this disease, right? Because it is a disease. It is a mindset. They are most likely to reoffend. So, you know, it's just like it's a lot, and I'm just like, we can't continue to hold up these structures that give them a home, right? Because the ones who are pastors and things, they don't get charged; they get moved around to another church and wreak havoc there. You know what I mean? It's just so, I don't know. I don't see how, again, as a woman in this day and age, you can be down with religion and this particular religion that hides so much of their bullshit and
Or you should be at least questioning. You should, if you don't have any questions right now, it's making me wonder, like what frequency or vibration are you on that you're not even questioning these religious houses. You can't just continuously turn a blind eye. And each month something is coming up. Like we're talking about the laundries in Ireland, where the nuns controlled them. It was a place where girls who I guess were considered inappropriate women, because they were young, they were pregnant, or they got in trouble, so they sent them off to the laundries. They forced them into abortions. It's just sad in the name of God and religions. They're called the laundries. Yes, yes, they're called laundries. And so now a lot of their stories are coming up. Mass graves are being founded.
oh my gosh,
It's just,
that shit breaks my heart, and it's
yeah.
happening worldwide, especially like in these religious places, like you said. A lot of these nuns and things like that, they abuse them. They have that a lot happening in Canada too with a lot of the natives. A lot of their children are being dug up in these unmarked graves. It's disgusting.
Mm-hmm.
It's under churches.
Yeah, it's under all the spiritual houses. And so I do believe right now we're at this port. I call it the portal door, where this whole entire world, there's going to be a reckoning. And this can't just continuously go on. So you can't keep erasing history or trying to erase history, because history never stays buried. So there were 795 babies found in the laundries in the mass grave spaces in Ireland. And so you've got a lot of people who are digging and they're speaking out. So yeah, it's
Oh
it's
my
it's
God.
here. Upon that we are.
I can only hope that this kind of information wakes women up, because one guy said too on my channel, he was saying, he was like, I really feel like if women leave the church, it's over. And I too believe it, right? Because honestly, men, as much as they try to act like women are, like they follow women wherever they go, right? Like
Yeah,
they follow
absolutely.
them and they follow their lead. That's why when you go to clubs, they let the women in for free and make the men pay, right?
Hmm.
Like
Hmm.
it's almost the same thing. Men just instinctively, whether they like it or not, will follow the lead of a woman, just in order to,
Yeah.
even if it's just to have access to her. Hold on a second, yeah. Do I know where the? Uh, it's not over there. It could be over there behind the TV there. Yes. Yes, you do. Sorry about that.
No, you're
Actually, I've
fine.
reached the 3 hour point. I did say I was going to stay on 3 hours. That's what TikTok wanted from me.
Okay.
And since no Christian women want to come up and have a discussion, I love that you come. Thank you, Global, for coming. Because Wednesday, I was here by myself, like literally.
Well, at least you're doing it. That's
I know,
awesome.
and I know that I just have to keep doing it in order to get the traction going. But it can be very like weird sitting here talking to myself. I mean, again, every once in a while the trolls will come, a few men will come and try to be like, "Oh, you Christianity, this blah blah blah." But the kind of conversations I'm trying to produce, it's just I guess it's gonna take a while. I'm still gonna try. I'll be here on Wednesday. To those of you listening, thank you
Okay.
for getting me to 5.4K likes.
Oh,
Thank
yeah.
you for the rose. I didn't reach my goal, but that's cool. Like I said, I know I'm just starting out. So thank you guys so much. I'm definitely going to be doing more of this. I think it's important. I think this could be a great conversation. Just need to have more people show up.
Absolutely. And they will come. The more likes, the more it'll bring them in. So I look forward to more of these conversations. This has been great. And thank you for having me on the panel.
Well, thank you for coming up and keeping me company and I don't like you gave me to think about and to look into. Like I like that kind of stuff. I love learning. I love like even like what you said about the laundries. I'm gonna look into that. Um,
Mhm.
and
The
even
Laundries of
others
Ireland.
told me about like that other place. Was it what was it? The Christian maternity houses. Yeah, I definitely want to look into that as well. I want to put a spotlight on these things because again, if we're not talking about it, nobody else is going to talk about it. If people don't
Absolutely.
care and they want to
And
cover it up.
and the way that they are trying to dismantle, well, they've already dismantled the family and then attacking education.
Hmm.
So that means people will not have any critical thinking skills because they can't read. So they're not going to research to find out that these things are available.
Yeah.
So that these things have happened and information is out there. So yeah, dig in. It's there. And I'm sure there's other terms too in other countries, but definitely in Ireland, it's called the laundries.
Okay.
The young girls were there, and they had their children, and whatever the nuns did, many of them ended up in those mass graves.
That's so friggin' sad.
Hmm.
And those are people that this is people that you're supposed to trust in the world, right?
And come and
And
pour out your heart to them and get
and
counseling and
ask them to help you get your sins forgiven. And look what they're doing.
uh-huh.
Mm-mm.
Yeah. And I don't know who's worse, them, the priest, and then you have the priests, and then you have pastors. It's really scary out here. It really is really scary.
It is, and that's why. But I'm glad because now I like it. It's helpful to see so many women that are speaking up now. I do see a lot more women deconstructing, and I love that because that just goes to show that we're not. You may keep us apart, but honestly, that's where social media and the internet has been a blessing because we can connect with each other on here. Because it's hard to come through like-minded individuals when you're in a place where most of the people around you are a part of these Abrahamic religions.
Hmm.
It can make you feel
Absolutely.
super isolated, make you not want to speak out because you don't want to get harmed because that's even a thing. So I totally get it, but I think keep having these conversations, keep enlightening because people, and a lot of times they're listening. You know what I mean? They're listening, but they may not come up. And you're again planting those seeds. But thank you so much for coming up, Global Danica. I appreciate you so much for all the love. You've been great company to me here. Thank you to you guys on YouTube. I appreciate it. I know it's late. It's almost midnight on a Friday night. I'm sure either if you might be heading out or you might be coming in and being like, girl, I need to get to my bed. Okay. It's been a long week.
Well, I'll be up. I've enjoyed this conversation, and I hope I'm definitely gonna make sure that I'm put you on my alert, and gonna
Thank
be here.
you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man, we
Yeah.
need to keep having these conversations. You know they
Uh,
can't help themselves. They're gonna be coming in on these conversations, and they're gonna need to say something. We can start having the dialogue because I think it's super important. I know the men
mhm.
aren't gonna like it too because they're like, they're turning our women against us. You just know they're gonna start with that. They're not threatened by me right now because they see nobody's really in here. But once it
Not
starts
yet.
getting traction, oh, they're going to be on me. But I'm okay. I'm built for it. Like you saw me to handle that little troll, I can do that all day.
Well, I know you can. You just cut him to pieces. I'm like, oh my God, yes, cut him. Get
Because
him.
he was ridiculous, and he was putting words in my mouth. Like I would never, all the stuff that he said, I did not say.
Yeah, you did
Just
not say.
making up things. I hate that. I hate
But he
that.
wasn't even on topic. That's the worst part. He was not on topic.
He couldn't be on talking because he knows damn well as a man too. You know. But
Yeah.
anyways, I want to thank everybody who tuned in. If you're still there, I do see a few people. I have 4 people on TikTok. I have 1 on YouTube. I know it's getting late. All right, y'all. I'm gonna say goodbye. I will be here on Wednesday, probably around the same time, 8:30, 9:30. So look out for that. I'll make an announcement, especially on TikTok. I gotta do better with announcing and getting my deconstruction stuff out. So you'll be seeing more of that. Thank you so much again, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
All right. Night night.
Hi, YouTube. I want to thank you guys as well. I'm going to end the live stream. Thank you to those who came through. Hopefully the panel will start getting some real dialogue going on, but I'm going to keep trying. I'm not giving up just yet. I'm going to keep going live. I'm going to keep having this conversation, and I hope you guys join me. I appreciate you guys so, so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Black churches are just as absolutely they are. Okay, before I head out, I had to read that last comment, and absolutely they are. We can get a little bit more into that next time. My next live like this will be on Wednesday, but I'm still thinking about doing my Sunday revivals. So stay tuned. And yeah, we will talk soon. I love you guys. Remember to like the video, comment, share.